is one too many. Persons who have registered, whose records are with the NIA, but whose cards have not yet been printed, stands at 541,529. This figure, 541,529, represents the financial difficulties we have had lately, beginning approximately in July, August of last year, that resulted in our inability to get access to some 3.5 million blank cards that we have ordered into the country, which are currently in bonded warehouses, brought into the country by our technical partners, but we are unable to access them because of financial constraints. The banks that have basically bankrolled that purchase and importation have to be paid, and it had become a bit of financial constipation, which constipation has also given us some headaches.
The proposed CI, which makes the Ghana card the sole requirement for voter registration, serves as a restraint on citizens' right to register and exercise their franchise in elections. The Electoral Commission is to undertake programs for the expansion of the registration of voters. Instead, the EC rather seeks to undertake a program for the restriction of the registration of voters. We hold the view that the time-tested guarantor system must be maintained in our voter registration processes, and this position is absolutely non-negotiable. The suspicion of collusion by the ruling party and the Electoral Commission to rig the election for the ruling party continues to drive the situation towards dispute and potential violence. The minority group in Parliament will in the coming days be engaging a broad spectrum of stakeholders, including our developing partners, faith-based organizations, traditional authorities, civil society organizations, to get them to appreciate the issue at stake.
The majority leader justified the reason for which the Ghana card should be the sole document for voter registration.
From the picture ID cards being restricted to only cities, to the rural areas, and now the introduction of biometrics. Every single one of them has been opposed by the NDC. Why? The Electoral Commission is saying that they admit that their own system is not foolproof. This is a much robust system, and so we want to, as the law provides, align ourselves so that moving forward, we sanitize the system and also ensure that the fraud in the system would be eliminated, so that any winner in any election certainly will be appreciated. The projection is that 19 million will qualify to register, to be on the voters register. For now, we have 17 million who have been issued with Ghanaian ID cards. And the next thing is that those of them who register and have their cards are going to then use the cards to identify themselves as Ghanaian citizens in order to qualify to be registered on the Electoral Commission's register. What is the sin that the Commission has caused?
The Swame MP stated that the current Commission is finding the Ghana cards more useful due to the number of holders, which is close to the total voter population of the Electoral Commission.
Well, clearly, all these point to one thing. There is no agreement on this constitutional instrument by the Electoral Commission seeking to make the Ghana card the sole identity document for its continuous registration ahead of the 2024 elections. What would be the point of convergence? What would be the point of compromise? Because there are entrenched positions both by the NPP and the NDC on this matter. But I want to hear from you as well, the Ghanaian people. This is one of the key issues that we're going to be talking about this morning here on Key Point on TV3. Also, the former President John Mahama has launched his campaign, another bid to lead the NDC into another election. This is the 2024 election. He's talking about a number of things that he intends to do, including scrapping the ex gratia and also Article 71 office holders. But I'll be joined by the lawyers who have divergent views about this as to how long it will take for this promise to be fulfilled, because Article 71 is an entrenched clause in the 1992 Constitution. Will the other arms of government, in this case the legislature and the judiciary, also agree to align with him on this promise, because the Article 71 office holders span across all these three arms of government? Stay with me. We'll talk about it. Our neighboring country, Nigeria, had the elections. 70-year-old Bola Tinubu declared winner of that election amidst all the concerns and allegations against the independent Nigerian Election Commission. 2 out of the 17 have decided to go to court to challenge the outcome of the results. What can Ghana learn from these developments in our neighboring country ahead of our elections some 22 months away from today? Also, the Ghana Traditional Council has opposed the decision or plans by government to build the Kayaye hostel on a land in the Ghana state. They've given reasons why. A number of people are contesting the reasons given by this Ghana Traditional Council. We will get into that. All these are the key issues on Key Point on TV3. We're also live on 3FM 92.7. We're live across the world on 3news.com and TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279. We are on your radio, on your television, in your home, on your mobile phone. Let's get talking. This is Key Point. I am Alfred Okanse. Welcome. My guests will join me right after this quick break. We'll get into the conversation. Stay with me. We'll be back shortly.
Welcome to Lakeside Hills, a gated community which offers a peaceful and serene living experience. Today, we are going to be touring a beautiful 2-bedroom standard house measuring 85 square meters. As we enter the house, we are greeted by a cozy living room that is perfect for entertaining your guests and relaxing after a long day's work. The large windows allow plenty of natural lights to flood in, illuminating the space and making it feel inviting. The first bedroom is cute and adorable, perfect for young couples and growing families. The second bedroom is connected to its very own bathroom, providing the perfect setting for guests or anyone that values their privacy. The kitchen has been designed to be both functional and stylish. The modern appliances and the classy cabinet make it perfect for the home chef or anyone who enjoys cooking. The house also features a compound that can comfortably park 2 cars, and it's also partly powered by an AC solar system. If you're looking for a peaceful and a serene living experience in a gated community with so many amenities, then Lakeside Hills is the place for you.
Mark your calendars and invite a friend to the second edition of Walk for Life, a health and fitness walk powered by Net36 Vista. We are inviting everyone to this fun-packed exercise for a healthy lifestyle. This year's event is happening on the 18th of March at 6 a.m. Join your favorite superstars Akrobeto, Lil Wayne and Dabo as they walk with you from Ayimensa Toll Booth all the way to the Pediasi Lodge. Then at the finish line, our physical instructors will lead you through some aerobics while highlighting the importance of regular exercising. Don't miss the second edition of Walk for Life with Akrobeto, Lil Wayne and Dabo on the 18th of March at 6 a.m. Join us, bring a friend or come and meet a new one. The second edition of Walk for Life is powered by Net36 Vista, a prestigious property investment and management company.
I'm seated in the confession seat, and he's ready. He says,
I didn't call to tell him I was coming. This muscular guy was humping his wife.
Even as friends, we can have bro codes, but this one is your blood.
The moment they get married, make a conscious effort to draw that line.
position the woman was given is an enjoyable one.
Why is she sleeping with another man on her matrimonial bed?
Either you're a beginner or you're a pro.
You shouldn't treat every lady as a cheater.
Oti Obia Sema, Ayasusuka, Miss Nancy Confessions on TV3.
Confessions now shows on Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. on TV3.
Welcome to Ghana Month.
Hi, lovely Ghanaians. Inapa your beautiful Queen Taya Umbongo.
The name is derived from the Ewe word afajeto, which means war with the bush.
One day, I went to the market and this lady was crying. And I saw what she carried, heavy load. And the woman who would actually make her carry that load gave her 2 cedis. I was going to shop for the house. I gave her everything that I had.
That is Buzia, that is if I'm not wrong.
Yes, that's my grandfather, Edward Akufo-Addo. Grandpa, I'm sorry.
Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park is in the heart of Accra.
You miss and you miss and
The Ladies Circle shows this Saturday at 6 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Yaz Sanitary Pad.
Onga.
There's a big old family dance. This week on Big Old Family Dance is freestyle. Yeah.
All my ladies. All my ladies.
It's eviction time. Our selected competing families do their own thing. They choose their own dance moves. They choose their own themes and they come on and wow us. You don't want to miss this. Only on TV3 at 8 p.m. sharpest. We're right here. All right, my name is Crystal Kwame. I am your MC. Come on, catch you. Look out.
Big Old Family Dance shows Saturdays at 8 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by Big Old Drink.
For any person who wishes to register as a voter. This implies that the guarantor system, which hitherto allowed a registered voter to vouch for the citizenship and age of prospective applicants, will no longer be relied upon as part of our registration exercise. The reason is that over the years, the guarantor system has presented us with several challenges. Unfortunately, we were unable to discard it much earlier due to the absence of a national identification card such as the one issued by the NIA. The challenges with the guarantor system are twofold. First of all, it opens the door for registered voters or guarantor contractors to guarantee and vouch for persons who are less than 18 years old. Secondly, it allows these guarantors to vouch for persons who are not citizens of Ghana. Such unqualified persons, usually minors and foreigners, use the door of the guarantor system to try to get onto our register. We were able to successfully expunge close to 40,000 minors and foreigners from the register during the registration exercise. It has been argued that this number is not significant, but we beg to differ. And we refute the argument and state that one unqualified person on our roll is one too many.
Persons who have registered, whose records are with the NIA, but whose cards have not yet been printed, stands at 541,529. This figure, 541,529, represents the financial difficulties we have had lately, beginning approximately in July, August of last year, that resulted in our inability to get access to some 3.5 million blank cards that we have ordered into the country, which are currently in bonded warehouses, brought into the country by our technical partners, but we are unable to access them because of financial constraints. The banks that have basically bankrolled that purchase and importation have to be paid, and it had become a bit of financial constipation, which constipation has also given us some headaches.
The proposed CI, which makes the Ghana card the sole requirement for voter registration, serves as a restraint on citizens' right to register and exercise their franchise in elections. The Electoral Commission is to undertake programs for the expansion of the registration of voters. Instead, the EC rather seeks to undertake a program for the restriction of the registration of voters. We hold the view that the time-tested guarantor system must be maintained in our voter registration processes, and this position is absolutely non-negotiable. The suspicion of collusion by the ruling party and the Electoral Commission to rig the election for the ruling party continues to drive the situation towards dispute and potential violence. The minority group in Parliament will in the coming days be engaging a broad spectrum of stakeholders, including our developing partners, faith-based organizations, traditional authorities, civil society organizations, to get them to appreciate the issue at stake.
So the issues and the concerns are clear, both on the part of the majority and then the minority, and indeed for you, the Ghanaian people as well, who have been talking about this. Welcome back. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. Also live on 3FM 92.7. My guest, His Excellency Nii Ayikwe Otu, Ghana's immediate past High Commissioner to Canada, and then also a former Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana. He's a member of the NPP. Honorable, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Also, Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner. He's a leader of one of three individual bondholder groups. Also joining us, Martin Kpebu, good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, morning.
Great. Also, the Honorable Mama Yarga is a member of Parliament for the Bako Central Constituency, also a private legal practitioner. Honorable Mama Yarga, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. So, I have three seasoned lawyers to talk about a matter of law and also of citizenship and of the right of the Ghanaian. So, let us start off with you, the Honorable Mama Yarga. Although Dr. Kesler Tuforsing spells out some of the issues, the Electoral Commission chair appeared before you, Parliament, finally, after that tango on the back and forth. She gives some detail as to why they pushing for this Ghana card to be the sole identity document for the continuous registration, making it quite clear that the Ghana card is going to be used to vote in election 2024. And why the guarantor system is faulty, because it gave room to what they described as guarantor contractors getting ineligible people onto our voter roll. What are the specific concerns against this CI, and why you think that it is not going to guarantee us a credible electoral roll or possibly disenfranchise eligible voters?
Well, I mean, good morning to my colleagues here and to our viewers. The issues, in my opinion, are simple and straightforward. There are others that are a little bit more complicated in terms of the questions of law that arise. But I'll try to present it in its most simplistic sense. The chairperson of the EC says that the main issue is the guarantor system. That the guarantor system has been subjected to some abuse. And in the last registration exercise, which saw the registration of about 16 million Ghanaian voters, 40,000 were ineligible voters, and the EC managed to discover that and deleted their names from the register. And so, in her opinion, they got in through the guarantor system. And in order to ensure that we have a register that, in her opinion, is credible and has integrity, we should take out the guarantor system. First and foremost, the internal logic of her argument is warped. Why do I say so? She admits that 40,000 people who were not eligible to be registered got on the register, and she discovered it and deleted it. The fact that she is able to discover it and delete it is a clear testament to the fact that the system works.
To the extent that they detected the ineligible persons,
and deleted them, means that the system as we have designed for her works. The system is capable of correcting itself. If people who are ineligible get onto the system can discover them and then delete them. So there's really no real threat to the integrity of the register, because the NDC or the MPP did not come fighting, gun blazing, that why did you delete 40,000 people? Everybody accepted the deletion of the 40,000 people, and then we went along, had an election, and then one party won, a number of parliamentarians won, and then life goes on. So that's the internal logic of her argument. But let's go to the main reason why she wants the guarantor system taken out. She says it's subject to abuse, and that's why she prefers to go and use the Ghana card. And we pointed out to her that, well, the Ghana card itself is also the product of a system that has the guarantor mechanism. Because in 2000, when we passed the National Identity Register Act, which makes provision for the compilation of a register of all persons resident in Ghana, including non-Ghanaians. That act did not make provision for a guarantor system. So the NIA had to use primary sources such as your birth certificate, your this, your passport, so many other sources in an effort to identify your citizenship. But we know that there are many Ghanaians who still remain undocumented. Undocumented in the sense that they may not even have a birth certificate. They may not have, for those who have passports, they are even more limited. And they may not have other primary records that you can use to deduce their nationality or their citizenship of Ghana. So the NIA found it difficult. So they came back to Parliament in 2008 and sought an amendment to the NIA Act so that they can also include a guarantor system in the mechanism for identifying who is a citizen for the purposes of issuing them with a Ghana card. So we pointed out to her that, but you are running away from a guarantor system that we gave you as a mechanism for identifying Ghanaians to register them as voters. And you are rushing to go and embrace the Ghana card. Do you know that the Ghana card itself is also partly based on the guarantor system?
She says that...
I mean, for me, it was difficult for her to to answer that question. She said, oh, the guarantor system of the NIA is more robust. So we asked, what about it is more robust? Oh, it has provision for people to guarantee on the basis of an oath that they must take. But again, I was scandalized. I was scandalized because the chairperson of the EC signed into law the CI 126, which amended the CI 91, which was the CI passed in 2016 to govern voter registration. And it was, she also had a difficulty, so she also came to Parliament to amend the CI 91 so that she could also incorporate a guarantor system in the CI 126. And in the CI 126, her guarantor system also has a provision for making swearing an oath. That you don't just guarantee, you know, blanketly. So that you also swear an oath.
That provision that she says makes the NIA's guarantor system more robust than that of the EC, being the element of an swearing an oath.
Yes,
is also in the EC's
also in the EC's own CI 126, which makes provision for identifying using the guarantor system. The only difference is that in the EC mechanism, a registered voter who already has a card can guarantee, I think, for about 5 people. Are you getting the situation? So that is the only difference. So we said, oh, is that your only problem? Your only problem is that this one has an oath, this one doesn't have an oath. So we passed that law, so we know that it has an oath-taking element in it. But assuming that you are not even satisfied with the oath-taking element in your CI, you can bring us a proposal so that we'll amend your CI to capture the character and form of oath-taking in the NIA law, so that you synchronize and have the same mechanism of guarantor systems. The mechanism of guarantor system that the NIA is using, just transfer that into your law so that you also use the same guarantor system. Don't deny Ghanaians an alternative mechanism for proving. So for instance, he is a known Ghanaian. He has a son who has just turned, 18. He's eligible to vote. Under the NIA guarantor system, as a relative of the boy, he can walk to the NIA and then guarantee that this 16-year-old boy, 18-year-old boy is my son. And then all he needs to do is produce his Ghana card, which is evidence that he is a registered Ghanaian. And then say that this is my son, and produce his birth certificate or some document that establishes that that is his son or a relative, and guarantee for him that this is my son, he is a Ghanaian, and so also issue him with a Ghana card. That is one of the mechanisms that the NIA system has. So we're saying that it should be possible for you also, who is able to walk to NIA and then guarantee for your son to obtain a Ghana card, you should equally be able to walk to the Electoral Commission and through the same mechanism, guarantee to the Electoral Commission that this is my son and this is evidence that I'm a Ghanaian citizen and he is also a Ghanaian citizen, and so issue him with his voter ID card because he has come of age, he's 18 years of sound mind and eligible to be registered as a voter. That is the simple position of the NDC, because we don't understand the logic of your argument, because if your issue is the character of your guarantor system, but you don't have a problem with the guarantor system of the EC, we're saying that, okay, bring us a proposal to change your guarantor system to conform to the guarantor system of the EC, and we will support you. The second issue that is contained in the new proposal she's bringing is this continuous registration exercise.
In fact, before we get there, forgive me, the second issue that the EC chair raises in support of the EC's position about this matter is that those who serve as guarantees have their details attached to the person's application. That is for the NIA system. But the EC system, she said, the guarantor system doesn't. As in that those who are serving as the guarantors for these people to get onto the electoral roll, they have their details attached to the application of the person they are guaranteeing for. She makes the argument that that provision is not in the EC's guarantor system, reason why it complements how robust the NIA system is than that of the EC, guaranteeing some level of sanity and also credibility of our electoral roll.
Well, you know, when you are at the level of the chairperson of the EC, I expect that, and of course she's a lawyer, she's my senior at the bar, I've known her for a long time. I expect that you will have a very, very comprehensive and meticulous view of your own work, what you do and how you do it, the rules and regulations governing how you do it. I don't even understand this argument. The reason why I say I don't even understand this argument is that before the EC issues you a voter card, when you are not being guaranteed for, they are required to ask for every detail of yours. It's in the regulations, the CI, the instrument, sorry. So you have the information of the person. That is why you issue the person with a voter ID card. So when the person provides you with a voter ID card, implicit in that card is an assumption that you have all the details of that person. I hope you understand me. So you can't come and tell us that in spite of the fact that the person presented you with a voter ID card, you don't have other details of the person, because you have the other details in your records. And the voter ID card the person is holding is the evidence that you have that person's details in your records. So I don't even understand really her argument. But we are saying that the guarantor system of the EC, in our opinion, has better accountability mechanisms. Do you know why? In the case of the NIA, an individual parent will come there, or a relative, or even the two commissioners of oath that the NIA has registered. They will come there and then they will guarantee for people. Nobody really will challenge them. It's just them and the NIA. But the EC's mechanism usually ensures that political parties have representation at the registration center. Okay?
I see.
And the political parties have a right to just look at a person and challenge the person, even without any basis. To just say, look, looking at your physical features, we don't think you are up to 18 years of age. Okay? Or to just say that, well, we're in this community, who are your parents? You can't mention any particular person in the community that they know. They say, well, we don't know you because we know almost everybody in this our community. So if your parents are here, we will know. If you are from this community, we will know. Or that we could easily just walk to their homes and check and verify. So you have political party representation at the registration center who have a right to challenge. So even the 40,000 that she mentioned, I can vouch that those were the product of challenges by both sides. So normally you find the NPP people sitting there, and any NDC, anybody that they believe is from the NDC side, they will just challenge. Because they look at your height and look at your size, maybe it is some deficiency that the person is suffering. So at age 18, he has some physical challenges. They'll just look at you and say, oh, we don't believe you are up to 18, we are challenging you. And when that challenge is mounted, you have to refer it to an investigation board. They will conduct an investigation. Then, you know, the panel will invite both sides to come to produce evidence to show that, you know, the person is actually 18. So the Electoral Commission registration mechanism and the guarantor system has better inbuilt checks than even the mechanisms of the NIA, because the NIA, there's no provision for challenge. There's no mechanism there for you to challenge. It's just the you and then the NIA authority. So when she creates the impression that her guarantor system is inferior to the NIA guarantor system, I find that baffling, because I'm like, does this person really understand the mechanisms of the law that governs her own work? So I don't understand her argument, because it's just unfounded, and it just takes anybody who has the various CIs and then the regulations and then the acts to read through it, and you will see that, you know, her argument is flawed.
In fact, one of the, because you made mention of the regulation, and gentlemen, I'll come to Lawyer Martin Pebu and then also Lawyer Ayikweyo too. The regulation 2012, the National Identity Register that you made mention of.
Yeah.
I think this is regulation 7.1.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can check it. This is the mandatory use of the National Identity Card.
Yes.
Now, it is stated in there, 7.1a, a national identity card issued to an individual shall be used for the following transactions where identification is required. They list a number of them: application for an insurance of a passport, application for an issuance of a driver's license, opening of individual or personal bank accounts, which is happening now, and then purchase of insurance policies, purchase, transfer, and registration of land by an individual or a connected transaction subject to the provisions of other enactments. But when you go to J, one of the services, or that the identification is required, is the registration of voters. And then you go to payment of taxes and so on. If this regulation is in force, Regulation 2012, when will this aspect of it, that is the national identity card being used for the registration of voters, be admitted? I think that's one of the concerns or questions that have been raised about your position as well on this.
She raised that issue in Parliament, but I'm happy that my two colleagues here are lawyers, so they will examine my response. First and foremost, my argument in Parliament was that, look, you need first to find out whether the NIA or the minister responsible for the national identification systems, who is the minister who makes the regulations through Parliament. The first question I ask is, you need to first convince yourself that they had the authority to enact to pass a subsidiary legislation binding the Electoral Commission to use their card. That's the first thing. Whether they had the authority to pass a law binding the Electoral Commission to use their card as a means of identification of citizens for the purposes of registration. The reason why I ask this fundamental question is that the Constitution says that the Electoral Commission shall not be under the direction and control of any other authority. Okay? So today, the NIA is under the authority of the Interior Minister. So can the Interior Minister pass a law binding the NIA, the Electoral Commission, to use by all means a card issued under the direction of the Interior Minister without violating the constitutional provision that guarantees the independence and autonomy of the Electoral Commission?
So to the extent that other institutions like the banks and others are going by this LI, which is in force, passed by Parliament.
Exactly.
You are saying that this aspect that requires the registration of voters,
because her argument, her argument was that she is bound by Regulation 7.1 of Regulation 2.111. Is that okay? Because it says that when you go to register, you should provide your issued Ghana card. Then the second argument we confronted her with is that it says that you should provide your issued card. It means that if the card has been issued to you and you go to register, you should provide that as a means of identification. How about if the card has not been issued to you? If the card has not been issued to you, you should be enabled to have an alternative mechanism for proving your citizenship. Because the law will only apply if you have been issued a card by the NIA, so that it becomes an offense if you have been issued a card by the NIA and you go to register to vote and you don't present that issued card as a mechanism for identifying you as a citizen. Let me finish. Then we then drew her attention to the fact that she herself in her statement had informed us that in 2020, when she was doing the revision and the limited registration, 10 million people who had Ghana cards presented their Ghana cards as a means of identifying them to be registered as voters. So we said that they presented that to you because they had it. The 6 million who did not present you the Ghana card, it is because they didn't have it. Because it is easier for anybody who seeks to register and who has a Ghana card to simply present the Ghana card as a mechanism of identifying him, instead of going around scouting for guarantors to come and guarantee for the person and to open yourself to challenge by opposing political parties who are sitting at the registration centers. So let's leave the law as it is, so that we will rather put pressure on the NIA to make sure that every Ghanaian who has a card or who is entitled to get a card is issued with a card, so that it makes it easy for them when they want to go and register to use their cards for registration. Luckily, the finance minister came and committed himself to finding all the money for NIA to be able to give every Ghanaian, issue every Ghanaian a card. Even though we don't take his promises seriously, because Ghanaians, know his track record.
Why don't you take him serious?
No, we are happy if he's able to do it. But we're saying that let's leave it as it is. If he's actually able to do it, every Ghanaian who goes to obtain the card will naturally use it to also go and register. Indeed, Ghanaians need a card for many things that in their lives for them are more important than even registering to vote.
In fact, those
SIM cards
are captured.
SIM cards are for some people today, their SIM card is their life. Because that is their bank, that is their computer where they store all their records. That is, for some people, that is their business office. So for some people, the SIM card is even more important than the voter register card. And yet, when the Minister for Communication placed a deadline to deny them or deprive them of their SIM cards if they did not produce a Ghana card, she struggled and struggled. People went and queued in front of NI offices for days, didn't get the card until the Minister of Communication was compelled to postpone the deadline indefinitely and has decided not to even take the matter seriously, so far as I'm concerned. I'm saying that that is a SIM card that is so dear to people's lives. They couldn't get NIA cards and then they didn't do it. Now today you are saying that for a voter register, how many people really are concerned about registering to vote? Look at the turnouts for votes across the world. People are despondent and they have issues with even politicians and the political class. So it takes a lot of effort to even convince them to go and vote, even when they have the card. Not to talk about when you make it more difficult for them to get the voter card. So our argument is that leave the law as it is.
Well, Lawyer Martin Peeble, I'll bring here at this point, and we'll get to the continuous registration aspect, because that argument is what the EC chair makes, would address some of the concerns that you have raised, to the extent that we'll get to the point of an election where some eligible voters would be disenfranchised through administrative procedures. Lawyer Martin Peeble, you had the EC chair this week in Parliament attempting to address some of the concerns that the minority and indeed some of the people like yourselves had raised. and the assurance by the NIA that all persons who don't have the Ghana card, eligible voters who don't have it, will get it before the 60 days before 2020, that's December 7, 2024. Find out your thoughts on this.
Yes, so Mr. Kansi, but let's quickly point out that the when Professor Atifa appeared before Parliament, you know, he made the even before then there was a public statement that he made, all right, on Newsfile last Saturday, where he indicated that for the 2.5 million citizens who don't have the Ghana card now, that it could take about 3 months. That's subject to the availability of funds. That's if the vendor is paid. You know, that's the banks had kind of seized the cards. To take 3 months, and then in the event of any delays, etc., up to about 6 months. So as soon as for me, I heard this thing could stretch to about 6 months. That was it for me. Look, you know, we don't want all that tension. Something that could take 3 months and possibly delay up to 6 months for all these people to be registered. That was it. Why the rush? Why do we have to say we'll use only the Ghana card when there are alternatives? You see the point? So my main point is that we are saying this could take up to 6 months. That's if money is made available.
In fact, we have the breakdown, the NIA,
yes, so let's go through.
Professor Ken Atefa, we have that breakdown that he put out. We'll put it on the screen shortly so that we'll all follow every step of the way, the submission that he made in Parliament.
Excellent.
But you see, to the extent that these number of cards have been printed, and he makes a very forceful point about the ability of the NIA to actually meet these demands. In fact, that's what you see there. Cards printed and issued, that is collected, 17.3 million. And bear in mind, this 17.3 includes 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds.
Non-Ghanaians.
And then the non-Ghanaians as
residents.
well.
At a point, if I may say something, I think he sought to say that this one doesn't include the non-Ghanaians. I think there was a debate between him and Professor Jampo.
So there was a little over 100,000, you know, people who have been issued who are not non-Ghanaian.
Yes.
Then you have cards printed but not collected. 642,403. That's what you talked about.
Not yet. 2.5 million. So even this 642,000 is a challenge. The challenge is that this have not yet been collected. That's 642,000. You know what it takes to be able to operationally give all this to the people involved? And then you see the one that's 2.5 million who have not yet been registered. That's not on the screen, but it's 2.5 million.
Is that the
that's my main
challenge? The NIA or the EC, or the people actually not turning up to go and register for the Ghana card?
Excellent. So it's a combination of all of these reasons. And so because we are running a democracy, right, let's not take decisions that seek to punish people. No, let's not punish people just because some, you know, there are various reasons why some have not been able to go. But we are not saying that all these 2.5 million have not registered because they deliberately refuse to go. That's not it. So once we don't have a scientific basis for saying that it's their fault, we will not do anything that will punish them. So the main thing is that once Mr. Kansi, Professor Atifa himself says it may take 3 months and possibly up to 6 months. That's after the debt has been paid, not as of the date you are speaking. So it's already been 1 week as of, from last Saturday. No, yes. So today is 1 week. The debt has not yet been paid. The minister is still making efforts to pay, right? Maybe look. Let me quickly add this. You see, the money Data Bank made, the money the minister and the president made, they should return it. It can help reduce the debt, right? Yes, because every time these are some of the things. This money they've made, it will haunt them every step of the way. So the point is that until the minister has paid the banks, and then they've been able to get all the cards, we can't begin to count the 3 months to 6 months. That is the key thing. And so I'm asking myself that, why? Why do we have to put ourselves under so much stress? If you were running your personal company, and then you see that, look, you need money to be able to accomplish something. You don't have the money yet, and there are alternatives. it's no brainer that you will go for the alternative so that you reduce stress on yourself, and also, most especially, the peace. You see, already we are struggling more than we deserve to struggle, okay? Ghanaian is overburdened, okay? People can't find food to eat, people can't buy medicine, people can't pay rent, and then we get up and give ourselves unnecessary stress. Let's not fix something that's not broken. We've always used this guarantor system. We've used it for decades, and so there is nothing wrong with continuing to use it. Look,
regardless of the concerns that the EC has raised about the guarantor system not being robust enough to secure the integrity of our electoral roll?
Mr. Kanse, you heard Honorable Ayariga debunk all those views, and I support him. Because when I heard it, I was just like, no, it looks like our intelligence is being belittled. Yes, with those things about it's not robust enough. So are we saying all the elections we've had where we had the guarantor system working, all those elections are not free and fair? They are not good. Is that the argument? When the EC itself in the past, I said, yes, we've had free and fair elections. No, look, listen, that's what I'm just saying. The simple point is that, is the NIA card the only card that can be used? As soon as you agree that we have alternatives, we have this guarantor system, that's the end of the question, right? And don't forget the passport, etc. We've always had the passport, right? So that's the CI 126. You know, we amended the CI 91 by removing the use of the driver's license, right, and the NHIS card, right? That was the essence of bringing the CI 126, right? We removed those ones. Then I think the matter of the birth certificate, right? So the question is that if the passport is still in there, in the CI 126, why? Why can't we continue to, use this to register? So the guarantor system is there, the passport is there, then there's the national identification card. Yes, that's what CI 126 says. So I don't think we should take ourselves through this stress, and most especially erode all the peace and quiet we're enjoying. I think we are already suffering enough. Suffering enough.
Let me take your thoughts on this. And you see the statistics we put out there on the screen by the NIA. How do we, in your view, do we address that issue of the cards of people that are ready sitting at the NIA, not collected? These people could be within the bracket of the eligible voters who do not have the Ghana card. Okay, so that we don't get to the point where, like we saw with the SIM card registration, when it's getting closer to the particular period, so many people throng the centers to get the Ghana card, when we are at this point where when you go to the centers it's almost empty. So when you look at that picture, plus the EC's own argument, which both of you have questioned, how do we address that? I mean, get people who have actually registered for the Ghana card to get it, and also have the NIA being financed, giving the necessary resource to carry out their duty of printing and issuing cards for people who have registered but don't have the Ghana card. Lawyer.
Yes. So number one is all about increasing education, right? So more announcements should be made. More announcements should be made. And then also for those cards, you know, at a point when there was the stampede because of the threat to deactivate SIM cards that had not been registered. And, you know, you needed the NIA card to do those, right? Some people came to Accra. So my suspicion is that for those who travel from other parts of the country to Accra to do it and eventually didn't get the cards, it must be that for those people coming back to get those cards must be a challenge. That's not the only one. I'm just saying that we can infer from the way people came. You know, Elwak Stadium, so many people came to get a card and all that. People were queuing and everything we saw on the TVs there, right? Yes, so we have to, the first thing is to increase announcements, and then perhaps do some disaggregation. So look through the data, those cards, so that the various constituencies or district offices, yes, the cards will be arranged that they are all sent there. That's if there are those that are in Accra, right? So education, education, education. Call people to come and pick. But no matter how, look, it's not possible that all these 642,000 cards will be picked up. No. Things in the nature of human beings, you will never get 100% compliance. That's how come we must continue to keep the window open for people who want to use their passports and people who want to do the guarantor system. You can't use just one system. You can't use just the NIE card. It's not possible. It is not. We don't. Human beings are not like that. You can't get everybody to come in. After all, in this particular case, what is it? It's not as if we don't use the NIE card, then the elections are not free and fair. That's the main point. Let's stress it. Okay. We can't stress it enough. It's not as if failure to use the NIE card means that the elections will not be free and fair. No. What happens to our previous elections that we had all lauded?
I see. So, lawyer Ikwetu, you see, the concern is that there are some people who, and lawyer, some lawyer Martin people, some people are there who would definitely not want to go in for this. Yeah. But gradually, the point that Honorable Mama Yarga made, that the Ghana card is needed for many other things now, including getting the voter register, that is the identity, and being able to vote or be registered to vote, for that matter. The problem of getting people who are eligible to get the Ghana card to actually go and register should be another area of concern for you as well, in how to address it. And we put this earlier on the screen. This is as at February 19, 2023. We got the data from the National Identification Authority. Obviously, by now it would have increased, all things being equal. But the 17.3 million, because we needed a breakdown of it. Because that includes people who are 15, 16, 17. The 18 years plus, that's the eligible voter population who have acquired the Ghana card, is 16,985,548. This is as at February 19, out of the 17.3.
So that's...
And all things being equal, they are projecting 19 million eligible voter population by 2024. We are equal to bring you here at this point. Why do away with the guarantor system? In the case, the point the NDC makes, not just the NDC, but other people, if it is proven to be an alternative for people to get onto the electoral roll and stick to the Ghana card, which could disenfranchise eligible voters. Lawyer.
Well, thank you. I think we are talking law generally.
Sure.
And therefore, we should also seek to find what the interpretations are. The Article 51 of the Constitution reads that the Electoral Commission shall, by constitutional instrument, make regulations for the effective performance of its functions under this Constitution or any other law, and in particular for the registration of voters, the conduct of public elections and referenda, including provision for voting by proxy. So the EC going to Parliament to lay a constitutional instrument has a constitutional basis, which is Article 51. Now, 42, the right to vote. Every citizen of Ghana of 18 years of age or above and of sound mind has the right to vote and is entitled to be registered as a voter for the purposes of public elections and referenda. I don't remember whether there has been any amendment to this. So we all agree that the qualifications are that you should be a Ghanaian, then you should be 18 years and above, you should be of sound mind, and you should have been registered. If you are not registered, it means you cannot vote. Now, as I said, with 51, the EC usually will come out with the CI telling us how the registration will be done, and if there is nothing wrong with the regulations that were made for previous election, perhaps we use the same thing, public elections regulations. If you have any beef, you can make your changes. So the EC says that we are the administrators, and we have found that this guarantor system is bringing on to the register people who are not Ghanaians. If the law is that it is only Ghanaians who can vote, then we need to assist the EC to ensure that it really gets only Ghanaians vote for us. Otherwise, like we used to say, you get others coming to elect presidents and parliamentarians for you who are not, in fact, citizens of your country. Now, I see the issue as one of timing. It's one of timing. When would the registration actually take place? How long will it take for the National Identification Authority to issue the Ghana cards? Proud to. How long will it take? Do they have what it takes to do it now? If they do, then of course, we were colonized. At the end of which, when they were leaving, they left certain structures for us. Parliament, judiciary, so and so. That was not the system we knew. We had our chieftaincy systems and the rest. Now we have inherited them. And we are being told that that is the modern way to go. One of the things they do out there is like public identification. Any policeman, anybody who stops you, the first thing is, can I say an ID? Do you have an ID? So now we are being compelled, if you like, to go that way. We also need ID. When I see you, and in fact, it is helping in so many ways. Somebody says, I have a power of attorney from somewhere. Where's your ID to show that you are the person who was given that power to come and represent whoever, gave you that power? ID. If you bring me an ID, you will convince me. Now, if indeed that is the way to go, and it reminds me when the NDC went to court on the 126 or so, the last registration thing, trying to argue that certain, what was it? It was a particular thing they wanted to be included. I mean, if you have either a birth set or
the birth certificate.
You add a previous card, a registration card, a voter ID card, and even the passport and the rest. The Supreme Court said, well, they were not contained. Some of them, that what they're asking, were not contained in the CI. So this is the best time to argue. But what the lady is saying is that we go to the CI 71, it's already captured that it shall be part for purposes of registration. You need a Ghana card. It's already slipped into the law as we speak now. It was not challenged. It went there. And he's saying, I now want to implement it. You understand? That because it is part of the laws of Ghana. The NDC, with the greatest respect, did not oppose it when that LI or whatever was late. And it went through. It has slipped through. And he's saying, all I want to do now is to go according to the law. Is it time to challenge it? Now, the bottom line for me, I was one of the few people who took this matter to court some time ago, Okade. The case of Okade versus Electoral Commission and the AG.
I see.
As to whether we can amend a subsidiary legislation, And her conclusion was that no.
That subsidiary legislation cannot be amended.
You cannot. Why they lay it before you and you don't want it, then you need 2/3 majority to annul it. If you keep quiet and it passes, it has passed. So when after it has passed, you find something wrong with it, there's nothing you can do except to revoke the entire thing. And that's why I brought the Constitution to look at 11 again. Any other rule, regulation made by a person or authority under a power conferred by this Constitution or any other law shall A. be laid before Parliament, B. be published in the Gazette on the day it is laid before Parliament, and C. come into force at the expiration of 21 sitting days after being so laid. Now, so if you keep quiet for a substantial legislation, LI 1112, 2111, so and so, was late, nothing happens. It comes into force automatically, unless, that's the caveat, unless before the expiration of 21 days, Parliament annuls the other rule or regulation by the voters not to test of all the members of Parliament. This is where I have my difficulty. Is the NDC sure they can get 2/3 majority to annul what has been put there?
They are yet to put it.
Yes.
It's yet to be laid, and that's why they are fighting. And we should
what I'm
support
saying is that assuming it goes in,
we should fight
now,
it. It shouldn't
would
be.
they have that number, 2/3 majority of all parliamentarians, to annul it? Right now, it's already divided into, is it 138, 138?
137.
Something happened
I mean,
to one of the guys.
136 now.
Is it possible? Is it possible?
Yeah,
it doesn't vote anymore. Right. So these are the things that rather worry me. That are you just talking, or you think you have what it takes at the end of the day to really annul it? You need 2/3 majority of the people to annul it. And what do you do with Regulation 7, which mandates it? And in fact, the Bank of Ghana, if you recall, also made use of that thing and said, we are now going to accept only Ghana card for purpose of identification.
Which is causing so many problems.
And to a very large extent, well, it has been accepted. So as we are building our democracy, as we are made to follow what we call advanced democracies. If the NIA has time, I've looked at the figures we have put down there. After all, what is the voter population that we have in Ghana?
Well, at the end of 2020, they put a little over 17 million. Now they're projecting.
No, the actual vote at the end of the day, when you finish it, you count everything. How many people really cast their vote?
Normally between 50 to 70%.
It's even turnout. So you see that the number doesn't even come to what those who register. I was making a point with some people. I am on the Spinters Road within Krowo, and we have a lot of Jehovah Witnesses around there. And when you tell them, but you people, why are you queuing? You say, oh, it's not because I want to vote. We don't vote, but I need the card. So there are so many people who even go to register, they don't vote at all.
Indeed.
They only need the card for other uses. I remember when we were here, was it 2016 or 2012 or thereabouts, doing analysis during the elections. Yes. You remember? By the time we got to about 10 million, we've actually settled on what we wanted. Just about 10 million. That's what I'm asking. I've become a little stale because I was away for the last time. So how many people actually vote? And if we already have 17, and after 17 from the 18 and above is more than 60 million, then we're almost there. When it comes to real voting.
But you see, lawyer, consider, and that's what you see on the city, but consider the concern as well of the possibility of these administrative procedures possibly disenfranchising eligible voters.
Well,
regardless of what the subsidiary legislation has said and cannot be amended.
You are saying that it has been issued but not yet collected. Why are we like that? You have gone to queue, they have issued a card, they've told you come and collect it, you don't go. And you are complaining. Why don't you go and collect your card? If it is there, it is there. Say, I'm waiting for you. Come and take your card. And you are complaining about districts and regional capitals and district capitals and all that. That is what we have. It is part of our system. We should make it work.
But that poses a challenge.
No, but you should find ways. Otherwise, we will not make laws. The laws have been made and they should be respected. We should find ways and means of getting the laws work. You can't sit down and say that because I will find it difficult getting to a district, so make another law for me. You can do it if you want to.
Would it be a challenge admitting the proposal of, for instance, running the guarantor system concurrently with this Ghana card system as well, because of the inherent challenges, regardless of what the subsidiary legislation says, which cannot be amended?
I have no difficulty with the question. The difficulty is coming from the managers of the election. They are telling you that at the end of the day, this is what we found. About 40,000 people came in through the guarantor system, and we think it is not the best. It's the same as the national insurance card at the time. You know, anybody can go for it. We did not think through it, and we said, oh, it's okay if you have a national ID card, insurance card, you can come. Only to now realize that, but is it not for purposes of deciding whether to pay cash or to use a card? Is it for voting? So when you ask them to use the insurance card, you are allowing people who are not Ghanaians to come in and vote. And 42 makes it clear that it is only Ghanaians who should. And it is not the fact that you are Ghanaian, but you are qualified and you also have been registered. And we need regulations to go. Bottom line, give the National Identification Authority time to see whether it will work. If indeed getting to the end, they are still having that difficulty, then let's think of the alternative. But to me, it is too early. We're looking at December 2024, and we are now in February. We still have some time. And the numbers they have churned out are already huge. They're already huge. So why don't we give them the benefit of the doubt? They've told us their difficulty, which is that we don't have the resources to pay some of the banks that give us money. The government says we will look for the money, and we paid part already. Why don't we give them opportunity to see that, look, get all Ghanaians should be on their toes watching the system, so that getting close by, say, hey, let's put brakes down. We don't think you can do it. Why don't we now bring in the guarantor system the last 3 months, the last whatever it is, to make sure that we get more and more people, you know, so that you don't disenfranchise anybody. But at this stage, to me, it's a little bit, early to say, no, don't bring it at all. I don't know when they intend also to do the registration. Which part of the year is this registration supposed to take place and all that? So that would be my. I've listened to all the arguments. They all look, they look attractive. But one, I have a caveat that the 2/3 majority NDC may not get it, and therefore at the end of the day, if they feel very strongly about it, they may not be able to jettison or even get it.
Get the 2/3 majority.
Well, there are two fundamental issues. And I've listened to my senior. He seems to take a position that the national identity register regulations, that's regulations 211, LI 2111, compels, is that okay, the Electoral Commission to use only the Ghana card as a medium. I'm going to read Regulation 7.1 so that my senior here will tell me whether it is right to give that interpretation to Regulation 7.1. Senior, this is what it says. A national identity card issued, okay, to an individual shall be used for the following transactions where identification is required. Issued shall be used for the following transactions where identification is required. And then J says registration of voters. Okay?
Yes.
Tell me, how does that mean that a national identity card is the sole document that you can bring to us to be registered as a voter?
I don't think that is an argument.
No, but that is her argument.
No.
I was in Parliament. Unfortunately, I haven't brought her speech. Her speech is that they are compelled. I get in the situation to use the Ghana card alone. I will say no. The law says that where somebody has been issued with a national identification card,
right?
When the identity of that person is being investigated by any public officer, that person shall present the card.
So
I get the situation. It is on the strength of this law that we amended the earlier CI to now enable the EC to receive the Ghana card as one of the mechanisms for identifying, because the law says that if the person has been issued with the card, the word issued is used in the regulations. So where the person has not been issued with a card, then you say no. If you come to me to be registered, that is the only mechanism that I will use to identify you as a citizen. Secondly, I want you to relate this to another law, which is not even a subsidiary legislation, the Citizenship Act. Okay? The Citizenship Act provides in section 22 and 20. Sorry, I need to, because these days we use our we use our phones as our libraries, and sorry, the Citizenship Act makes provision for the Minister of the Interior, okay, to issue certificates to confirm the nationality of citizens where there is doubt. That is not a subsidiary legislation. That is a parent legislation. That is a Citizenship Act of 2000, Act 591, Section 21. I want to read it. It's important. I beg you. 21, evidence. 20 deals with certificate of citizenship in doubtful cases. And it says that the minister may, on an application made by or on behalf of any person with respect to whose citizenship of Ghana a doubt exists under Part 1 of this Act, certify that the person is a citizen of Ghana, and a certificate issued under this section shall be prima facie evidence that the person was such a citizen at the date indicated in the certificate, but without prejudice to any evidence that he was such a citizen at any earlier date. So a certificate of the Minister of the Interior by this law is prima facie evidence before any authority that you are a citizen. Okay? Then it now says section 21 of the same legislation makes provision for evidence. And it says that a document purporting to be a notice, certificate, order, or declaration, or an entry in a register, or a subscription to an oath of allegiance given, granted, or made under this Act shall be received in evidence. The evidence may be given by the production of a certified true copy of the document by a person. An entry in a register made under this Act shall be received as evidence of the matter stated in the entry. That's also evidence. Now we are dealing with the question of citizenship. The fundamental job of the Electoral Commission is to ascertain that you are a citizen under Article 42 of the Constitution. So you cannot now, in the face of other legislation which provide mechanisms for establishing citizenship, come to us in Parliament and say that you want to have a subsidiary legislation which precludes you from using all these other legislation that we have passed in Parliament as mechanisms for establishing your citizenship, that you want to preclude them as mechanisms for establishing citizenship when it comes to the purpose of registering a person as a voter. That is a fundamental legal flaw. And you can't come and make a legislation to that effect and then raise the question of, oh, once I succeed in bringing it, then you need 2/3 to prevent it from becoming law. It is only in a country where you believe that the courts are dead and sleeping that you can prefer that argument in the face of all these laws. In no country can you have parent legislation conferring on citizens a right to use alternative mechanisms to establish their citizenship. Then you, an electoral commission, will come with a subsidiary legislation and deny them those rights under those mechanisms passed by parent and substantive legislation. And so once I succeed in laying it, you know, you cannot have gather 2/3, and so I can use that. The courts are sitting there. Citizens will go there and challenge you. And in any case, this is about elections. We know what elections and the laws on elections have done to some countries. You need to build consensus. Why? The EC could have said, I won't come to Parliament to even discuss the draft with you, because no law binds the EC from coming to Parliament to discuss the draft with us. But they've come because they themselves appreciate that you need to build consensus. You know, you need to build consensus so that if there's an agreement, because the major political parties who are going to participate in the elections need to buy into the idea. You can't, you know, railroad everybody. People have ways of protesting. Do we want them to use all those mechanisms for protesting? Do we want to live in a peaceful country? Do we want to build consensus? And especially when you can show that the system is not broken. The system is not broken because you've told us that 40,000 people who are not entitled got on the previous register, and there was a mechanism for deleting it, and you deleted it, and nobody challenged you when you deleted it. What are you doing in the 4 years between elections? Sitting in your offices 4 good years. Every month we pay you salaries. Can't you use those 4-year periods to clean the register if you suspect that somebody is tampering with the register? And then you want to restrict Ghanaians. I was going to present the second reason why we are really objecting to this one, which is the logistics of it, the continuous registration exercise, and the requirement that you must come to the district office. We said that new mechanism you are introducing, combined with the additional mechanism that you can only come with a Ghana card, those two instruments introduced at the same time will have the effect of preventing many people from registering. You're talking about, they themselves mentioned that in their estimation, 2.5 million people ought to be registered from now till elections. 2024. 2.5 million people. And you tell those 2.5 million people that you must go and get a Ghana card first. And after you got a Ghana card, the past practice where we reached out to you to carry out limited registration exercises, so we came to your communities, to your polling stations to register you, we won't do that again. Henceforth, we're going to sit in our office, wherever it is, and then you will go and get the Ghana card. When you finish, then you will come to us, and then we'll register you. So we're saying that, look, these two measures at the same time is going to disenfranchise many people, because there is abundant evidence that the NIA has had challenges in the past getting people their cards. That one is not in dispute.
Professor Kenneth Tefa says they can meet that mandate. They can.
Excuse me, we cannot endanger our democracy on the assurances of a person like Professor Tefa or even the finance minister. Because we passed NIA Act since Kufuor's time. How many decades now? Kufuor came and left. President Mills came and left. John Mahama came and left. Nana Addo came, he's done 1 term, he's almost ending his 2nd term. We still haven't succeeded in making sure that every Ghanaian citizen has his card. We have district assembly elections in around September, and you are telling us, you can Tefwa, that we should bank on your assurance and then pass a law that is so restrictive as this CI is seeking to do, or that we should count on a man who swore on earth that we will never go to IMF. The following morning came and announced that we're going to IMF. A man who said we won't do haircut, the following day says we are doing haircut. A man who has consistently promised one thing and delivered another thing. Because he comes and sits in Parliament and says, oh, don't worry, I'll find money for NIA, so you change the law. We say, no. Is it somebody else or it's you? Don't we know you? So we're saying that We cannot gamble on our democracy on the basis of an assurance from Ken Atefua, who over the years has not delivered, or on the promise of the finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta, whose reputation everybody knows, and bank on the promises of these two people and endanger our democracy. As it is now, the law serves us well.
Right.
You see, I don't see his point of disagreement with me, because my conclusion is that we still have time. So give them time and let's see how it plays out. If getting to the end, it becomes clear that it won't work, we can now introduce other things. Now,
can we take that gamble?
Yes, why not? Why? We are in February. We are in February. We are talking. It is they who are raising any temperature. Who has complained?
No, we are complaining. We know what this is needed.
Instead of
us to concentrate on developing, we are just majoring the minors.
I don't even see the point of disagreement with me. This thing talks about citizens that has to be certified by the minister. Can we get the minister to certify everybody is a citizen before you go and register? Is it possible?
So we are
talking about
being practical,
a mass registration, and you are saying one of the things by which you can prove that you are against the minister can certify. Can the minister sit down to certify 3.5 billion people? I mean, that is a way of, and again, don't let the thing look like it is the first time we are doing it. It's not. Almost every time that we've gone to elections, we brought some CIs to work. How were we able to get out the national insurance scheme thing? That we shouldn't bring it. And we all agreed, and that yes, don't use it anymore. There were a lot of things they said about that, raising the temperature and all that. At the end of the day, it was taken out. They went to court. The court said, look, this is the ally we are working with, or the CI we are working with. It states the eligibility criteria, and we don't see the things we are talking about, so we will not accept it. So it is good to talk about, but don't let create a. I don't know that the EC chairperson said this is the only way by which I can register people. I have not seen that.
No, but that is what the new proposal.
What I'm saying is that
that's what the CI is about.
He's reminding you, and you are using the word shall in terms of this word shall be used for purposes of registration. It's not only for identification. The rest say identification, but this one says for purposes of registration. Is that not what you
That's the national identification card.
Yeah.
So that is the mandatory use of the national identification card. 7.1 says a national identity card is issued.
Yes, issued. But that is the point we are making.
Yes.
That
so we are saying
now it is not issued. Yes. Now they have given you the statistics, yes, and they are telling you that before then and now we would have done it.
So we're saying
no, that's dangerous.
Yes. What is dangerous? You are raising the issues.
Senior.
So since the law came, it is taking a long time for this thing to be done, but we now can see the effort that has been made. Look at where we are. Over 17 million had already been issued out. And the people are telling you, this 2.5, we can take care of it. Why are you so doubting?
To get the 17.3 million? It took years.
Whatever it took, they did it, but you are not comparing 2 to 17.
But you see,
the issue is huge.
That is where the flaw in that argument is. Because then the response to you is that, okay, the last registration in 2020, when you issued people up to about 10 million Ghana cards, when they went to register, they presented the Ghana cards. So people naturally will present the Ghana cards if it has been issued to them. And indeed, the law says that if you have the Ghana card and it has been issued to you, present that for voter registration.
Correct.
So a law already makes it compulsory and mandatory on you, the citizen,
who has it,
yes, to present it for registration. So we are saying that leave the law as it is and rather work hard on registering the people, because when the people have the cards, they will naturally
So
you
give them time to register. That's what they're saying.
But nobody. But the issue is not giving the NIA the time to register. The issue is the EC saying that change my law today so that unless somebody comes with a Ghana card, I will not register the person. We say no, don't change your law today. The law should remain that they should bring either the Ghana card or their parents and relatives should come and vouch for them. Until everybody has it, we believe that everybody who has it will use it naturally because it is so convenient. And in any case, we are saying that there are other laws that confer on citizens a right to use other mechanisms. You don't have the authority to come by subsidiary legislation and deprive them of those rights. And I've cited the Citizenship Act to you. And I'm saying that somebody cannot be certified under the Citizenship Act, and then you will come and tell the person that that document under the Citizenship Act, you will not accept it because by law you must accept that one also. So let's be even. Let's look at it even purely from a legalistic point of view. It just doesn't work.
It just says give us time. That was why he brought the director himself
so what's the ideal
come and address you.
Okay, in taking to, as it were, achieve this objective of the law, the National Identity Act, to have the Ghana card issued for the purposes of registration of voters, because per the act, as we have all read the details of it, one of the requirements as stated in 7.1 that a national identity card issued to an individual shall be used for the following transactions where an identification is required. That includes the registration of voters.
Yes.
The Bank of Ghana has actually started the execution of this.
Yes.
Instructing all banks and financial institutions to demand the Ghana card as the identity document for financial transactions. What is the ideal path
to
achieve this?
I won't even wait for you to finish. Let me say without an iota of doubt that no agency, no public institution has a legal right and authority to tell a citizen that the only document they will admit for purposes of identifying the nationality of that citizen is a Ghana card. Let me tell you, I'm saying that the bank, not even the Bank of Ghana.
Yeah. So can citizens challenge the Bank of Ghana?
No public institution in this country has a legitimate authority to say that unless you come to me with a Ghana card because of LI 2111, I will not accept any form of identification except a Ghana card. They are all mistaken. Their understanding of the law is wrong. I'm saying that the law is clear. The law says that a citizen who has been issued the card, when that citizen goes to any public officer and there is a need for that citizen to prove his citizenship, that citizen should present his Ghana card issued. That is on condition that there is evidence that he has been issued with the card. If that citizen hasn't been issued with the card, and that citizen has a Ghana passport, and that citizen has a certificate from the Ministry of Interior, and that citizen has another mechanism that proves the citizenship of that citizen, I swear, if you were to go to court and challenge them, the court will affirm your right to use those other legally affirmed mechanisms for establishing your nationality.
So that is if there are systems in place to actually authenticate that.
People just play along because, listen, people just play along because it is convenient. If I have a Ghana card, why would I go struggling to use other mechanisms? Are you getting the situation? So people just play along. But I can assure you that no one has a legal right in this country. No agency, not even the Bank of Ghana, the president has no legal authority to tell a citizen that unless it is the Ghana card, I will not allow you to use, your passport or a certificate of a Minister of Interior or some other lawfully recognized mechanism to prove your citizenship. So the Electoral Commission cannot follow in that footsteps. Because the other people can do it and we'll keep quiet. The Bank of Ghana can do it, we'll keep quiet. Banks can do it. Insurance companies can do it, we'll keep quiet because it facilitates their business. But when it comes to a matter as critical as the right to vote and the integrity of our democracy, trust me, we will stand up and we will make sure that you act according to the law.
But you see, that's where the issue is. If you're keeping quiet about another situation that is taking inspiration from the interpretation of the law as it stands now.
No, but there's something more fundamental. Listen carefully.
Why would you not raise questions about this?
There's something more fundamental.
You admitted earlier that people get a Ghana card not just to vote, but for other services.
Exactly.
Including accessing financial
Listen carefully. There's something more fundamental that you are not paying attention to, and they are lawyers. If the Constitution says that the Electoral Commission is independent and autonomous, it shall not be under the direction of anybody in the exercise of its constitutional responsibilities. And you go and make a law that predicates the exercise of that constitutional responsibility to register on the conduct of another authority that is subject to executive control. What do you think you are doing? Because the law says the Electoral Commission shall be independent, it shall not be under the control or direction of any agency, and that it must register Ghanaians who are 18 years and above and of sound mind so that they can exercise their constitutional right to vote. And in doing so, it should not be under the direction of anybody. Okay? Now you go and make a law that says that you can only register people if they bring you a Ghana card. Meanwhile, the Ghana card is an authority under the control of the executive arm of government, which is the Minister of Interior. When you make laws, one thing that you consider is when this law falls in the hands of a bad man, what can he do? The proverbial bad man. Go to your basic first year jurisprudence. They will tell you that when making law, you think about the bad man. If this law falls in the hands of a bad man, what will a bad man do with this law? So if you have the NIA under the control of a bad man, who is, let's say, an NDC member, okay, and he controls the registration exercise, the deployment of the officers that will do the registration, even after they've done the registration, he manages the logistics of the distribution of the cards. What would the bad NDC man do? If I say MPP, they will say, but let me say, what would the bad NDC man do?
They say the bad.
Are you getting the situation? The bad NDC man may contemplate a number of things. He can decide, okay, he will deploy very bad agents in Eastern region and in Ashanti region. And where their machine can print 100 cards a day, he will make them print only 10 cards a day and frustrate the people in Ashanti and Eastern region. Even after they've taken their biometrics, when their cards come, the bad man will make sure that the printing of the cards to go to Ashanti and Eastern region will be frustrated and delayed. Even after the cards have been printed, the bad man will make sure that the cards don't get there in time. Even when they get there, the bad man can deliberately frustrate the people, go and come, until they are tired and fed up and stop coming. Then he'll come and sit on radio and television and say, oh, I have 2 million cards, so they are not coming to collect their cards. He hasn't told you how many times those 2 million people came to his office and did not get their cards and are frustrated and angry and have stopped coming. That is your proverbial bad man. So I will not allow a situation where the right to vote, which is based on the person having been registered to vote, which is an independent constitutional function of the Electoral Commission, to be predicated on the whims and caprices of this proverbial bad man. That is why I say we will not allow you to pass a law that says that it is only the Ghana card, which is under the control of the executive, to be the main tool that you will use to identify citizens.
See, my problem with this analysis,
it should be of concern to you that any administrative procedure or any law that may disenfranchise eligible voters should be checked.
But
or questions should be raised.
Who passed the law in the first place? What is talking about? As if the executive passed the law. They can't pass any law. If they make the laws which are subsidiary, they even bring them to lie in parliament. So at the end of the day, they are passed because parliament has allowed them. I mean, you cannot direct the EC what to do administratively, but we are all under the law and we are supposed to respect the law. Even the executive's business is to administer the law. Okay. Execute them, see that they work. So if there's already a law in place which the person is trying to use, I think it is far-fetched to say that it is rather the executive that is directing it as to what to do. You were in parliament, perhaps, when the law came, or that it was the parliamentarians who saw the subsidiary legislation, allowed it to pass. So it has become part of the law. We should always balance this idea of the right of citizens to vote against who are citizens. We should balance that. It's too sweeping to say that, oh, you are disenfranchising. At the end of the day, the 40,000 that she got weeded out were people who were found not to have been citizens at all.
No.
So we should also balance it.
No. They were not necessarily people who were not citizens. They were most likely people who were citizens but not yet 18 years.
Well.
Are you getting that?
Then they were not qualified.
The minors and the foreigners.
Then we are saying that they were not qualified.
But we're saying that the guarantor system of the Ghana card does not stop that. Okay. The guarantor system in the Ghana card. If you say your guarantor system cannot stop that, we are saying that the guarantor system also in the Ghana card does not also stop that because they also use a guarantor system.
That is not.
Are you getting the situation? So it's a weakness in the system.
I think the fundamental issue we are
the weakness with a mechanism that is more dangerous to the system.
It is right.
Thank you.
Balance the issue with the qualifications of a voter.
Right, thank you. But the fundamental issue is to ensure that all eligible voters actually are
but remember, the cards are
exercise
there.
Their rights.
Those who went and queued and got the cards should go and collect them and stop the arguments. They should go and collect them and stop arguing.
Stay with us. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. We'll get into another very important issue, that is John Mahama and the promises that he has made. It's topical being the scrapping of the ex gratia. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Cartel Multimedia, in collaboration with BB Entertainment, presents Boko Hawk Onyede.
A married man having an affair? Guys, it was just a mistake.
Oh, to hell with you and your mistake.
Please, would you like to eat now or you eat later?
I'll eat later. Goodness. Is she the one? She's the one. You should have told us. You are only human. So this one stays between the three of us. It will not get anyone. You have done the brotherhood proud.
My husband?
Your husband is cheating with the National Service person. And my heart is broken.
Hello?
It was a mistake.
It's showing at the National Theatre on Saturday, March 11th at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Ticket is a cool 100 Ghana cedi. Dial *447 *1096# to purchase your ticket via mobile money across all networks or call 0506 780 720. Sponsors: Cartel Group,
Tanfreds and Logistics,
Avenue Condoms.
There's a big old family dance. This week on Big Old Family Dance is freestyle. Yeah.
All my ladies. All my ladies.
It's eviction time. Now our select selected competing families do their own thing. They choose their own dance moves. They choose their own themes and they come on and wow us. You don't want to miss this. Only on TV3 at 8 p.m. sharpest. We're right here. All right, my name is Crystal Kwame. I am your MC. Come on, catch you. Look out.
Bigo Family Dance shows Saturdays at 8 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by Bigo Drinks.
Commercial sex work is illegal in Ghana, but it persists, and not even its illegality and the dangers of the trade will stop some from daring even more for extra cash. In Sperm Merchants, Stanley Nibleu investigates the dastardly practice of the sale of sperm of unsuspecting clients by commercial sex workers to ritualists. But why do they do what they do?
If somebody bring me Ghana and says she come and use my vagina and pay 50 million, and I pay the money, so I have to leave for my own.
Condom there no hotels are cleaners no. No me if I never catch on some paint, so me juma no mo to me into committing back on Jana one man tip kakra.
And what is the position of the law on such matters?
There is a fundamental principle in law that the Romans call it ex topi causa non orito axio.
Watch Sperm Merchants on The Assignment on Wednesday, March 8, 2023 at 9 p.m. only on TV3 and across all social media platforms at TV3 Ghana.
Will reduce significantly the size of government. And as announced in my speech at the UPSA late last year, in a crisis situation like this, it is my belief that this country can be governed efficiently with 60 ministers and deputy ministers. We will initiate and undertake the most far-reaching constitutional, political and governance reforms under the Fourth Republic, which will be aimed at restoring confidence in our democracy and governance systems while making life easier and better for the people of Ghana. In response to the concerns and calls from many of you, we will initiate and undertake the most far-reaching constitutional, political and governance reforms that will restore confidence in our democracy. We will continue and bring to conclusion the constitutional review process that was begun by the late President Atta Mills, which will include a review of the controversial Article 71 to reduce the number of office holders under Article 71 and reduce the disparities in privileges and emoluments vis-à-vis the public sector and civil service. The payment of ex gratia to members of the executive under Article 71 will be scrapped. And the necessary constitutional steps to abolish that payment will start in earnest in 2025.
Welcome back. That's the former President John Mahama at the launch of his campaign to lead the NDC as flag bearer going into the 2024 general elections. If you just joined us, this is Key Point. We're live on 3FM 92.7 as well as on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, and also on 3news.com. His Excellency Nia Ikweotu, former Attorney General and immediate past High Commissioner of Ghana to Canada, is here. The Honorable Mama Yarga is also a private legal practitioner, Member of Parliament for the Boko Central Constituency. Martin Pebo is a private legal practitioner, leader of one of three individual bondholder groups. So, let me start off with you, Mama Yarga, on that point of scrapping the ex gratia, because I think that's topical amongst the many things that he's promised. Article 71 is an entrenched clause. And so you listen to him say that he's going to consult the other heads of at the other arms of government, because to presume that for the executive, he can exercise that right. But what path would this objective or this promise take in fulfilling it, scrapping ex gratia for Article 71 office holders? Well,
let me indicate that the former president is eminently experienced. He's been member of parliament, he's been deputy minister, he's been vice president, and he's been president. And so he's eminently experienced in these matters, understand the dynamics of it. And so I have no doubt that making this promise, he is serious about it and will execute it when the NDC comes into office. But the other issue for me, with some little background in constitutional law, I really don't think it is a difficult thing to do.
That is scrapping ex gratia?
No, not scrapping ex gratia. Not amending the constitution, addressing the concerns of Ghanaians when it comes to the public expenditure on governance. I think that's the underlying issue.
Concern, yes.
Yeah, that's the underlying concern. It is how much we spend on those who govern, okay? And those who govern, people often pay just attention on the executive arm of government and sometimes on the legislature. But we have independent constitutional bodies like the Electoral Commission, the Human Rights Commission, the Media Commission, and etc. Then we also have the judiciary, which is reasonably sized, but not really too big if you relate that arm of government to the executive arm of government. So, any president who is committed to reducing public expenditure on governance should be able to do so, and deal with the concerns that the public express about Article 71. First and foremost, what is ex gratia? What is ex gratia? You see, ex gratia really is usually calculated in some jurisdictions as 2 months' pay for every year that you have served, multiplied by the number of years that you have served.
2 months' pay?
2 months' pay.
For every year
that you have served.
So in this case, in
multiplied
Ghana,
by the number of years that you have served.
2 months.
Multiplied by 4.
And then?
That's all. That's ex gratia. that's what ex gratia really is. Minister, you were there.
In Ghana, how is it?
You were there. Is that not what it is? You were Attorney General. You were Attorney General. Is that not what ex gratia is?
I
2 months pay. Listen, 2 months pay for every year that you have served, multiplied by the number of years that you have served. How much is that? Okay? I have benefited from it as a member of the executive. I have benefited from it as a member of the legislature. Now, when people hear the figure that, MPs were paid, 300,000 when they were leaving office, and then it is presented as ex gratia, then they are concerned, and that concern might be legitimate. But many people don't know what really it is. Let me unpack today for you what it is. As we speak, the Constitution says that our conditions of service as members of Parliament should be determined by a committee set up by the President. And the President's condition should also be determined by the committee set up by the same President. But then when they determine our conditions, they should give it to the President to approve. When they determine the President and his executive their conditions, they should give it to us to also approve. Now, when do you think that exercise must take place? Shouldn't it be the first month when we come into office? But no president presents the proposal to us the first month that we come into office.
It's always at the end.
Very often they wait
till after the elections. Between the elections and the handing over, the 1-month transition period, that is when they set up a committee to bring the proposals. When the committee sits, they will now determine our conditions. Naturally, you don't expect them to say that the salary that was determined for us 4 years ago should be the same salary that we should take in 4 years' time, because no officer in this country, private or public, has his salary remain stagnant for 4 years unless you are paid in a foreign currency, which doesn't get devalued, which doesn't get affected by inflation. So invariably, you find out that at the end of the 4 years, the committee will increase.
There's some maybe some sectors that people's salary remains the same for that long. So it's not a blanket case.
Yes, yes. But then that would be a very unjust arrangement given inflation and etc. And all of us should be fighting for those categories also. But the point I'm making is that when that happens, then the committee will say, well, last year you were taking 7,000. Inflation was this, the dollar rate was this was that. So when we apply those considerations, today we'll increase it by 20% for you. So your salary is, instead of 10,000, it is now 12,000. Meanwhile, you have been paid for 4 years on the basis of the 10,000, which was determined by the previous committee. So they will now calculate salary arrears. Are you getting the situation?
Yes.
For the 4 years.
And then you add it.
And then they add it to your 8 months salary, which 8 months is the current determined rate. And that is what usually makes the figure look significant, that there is a public outcry. Are you getting the situation? So yes, if we abolish Article 71 and then we bring in some mechanism for determining maybe you said I'm an independent salaries commission that determines the salary of every other public officer, including the members of the Article 71. I think that you would have satisfied the public. For me, what we should be looking at is not just simplistically whether or not you have abolished Article 71 in the Constitution, but whether or not what we end up having is an arrangement where citizens pay less for the running of their country. And so it is not just that promise. It is that promise with the promise to cut down on the size of government, which is reduce the number of ministers from 87 to
he made
below
that point
60.
about
I get the
reducing
situation.
to 60.
Cutting down on the size of, the management in parastatals. So you can cut down the number of ministers, but if you maintain the glutinous administrative machinery of, let's say, Cocoa Board alone, it will wipe out every effort to reduce the expenditure that the public spends on governance. If you maintain the existing management arrangements as, let's say, the electricity corporation, okay, with several deputy CEOs and etc. in many of the agencies that we have, employing people who have no work to do in those agencies. So cutting down on public expenditure is a serious surgical exercise that anybody who is serious about running this country must carry out. So I'm happy that that public commitment has been put out there by ex-President John Dramani Mahama, and we will all hold each other by those commitments. And we won't limit it to just Article 71 office holders. We will go beyond that to see what happens in public corporations, in state-owned enterprises, in parastatals, in intelligence agencies, in the military, in all the other security agencies, because all of them are involved in the running of the country, and all of them are drawing on the consolidated fund. You don't need to be where we don't need anybody, and we don't need to pay for what we don't need, unless we introduce those efficiencies and transfer the state resources to the private sector, so that They create businesses that can even pay better. In a lot of countries, nobody's interested in working in the public sector. Intelligent people prefer to work in the private sector because that is where they make the real bucks. My senior, you are here. How many lawyers abroad are interested in working in their Ministry of Justice? Even here in Ghana, how many lawyers are interested in working in the Ministry of Justice and in the judiciary? See how we struggle to get good lawyers to agree to even sit on the bench or to even work in your office as Attorney General. Because if the private sector is viable and making money, they will pay good salaries, okay? And then people will prefer to work there. But if you have a public sector that is strangulating the private sector by having a huge bureaucracy that it cannot pay, and so every month it has to go to the bond market and go to treasury bills, and then the small money that is in the banks that the private sector will borrow and expand and create the jobs, they go and offer the banks better rates and take those monies. The private sector will not be able to grow. And what are they using the money to do? To pay an oversized government who are unproductive. So I believe that President John Dramani Mahama has set the stage for us to have a dispassionate, non-partisan, nationalistic debate about cutting down on government expenditure. And so I'm happy that he started it that way.
But that hurdle of this entrenched clause being scrapped, a referendum has to be undertaken, correct? And,
yes.
and there has to be at least 40% turnout and 75%
I'm sure that
of
if
the
this
40
question alone is put in a referendum, there will be 80% turnout. There will be 80% turnout. And you are likely to get at least 78% of the 80% voting to take out Article 71. For some funny reason, Ghanaians just hate Article 71 and whatever is contained in it.
So this is something you, as even the NDC MPs, will support. John Mahama to do this.
We will,
Scrap
because trust me, those of us who have been in public office, it is not that salary that has sustained us to date. Because that salary, trust me, to manage my constituency, that salary doesn't take me 1 week in a month.
The ex gratia?
Everything called conditions of service that I get as a parliamentarian, trust me, I'm telling you today that it doesn't last me 1 week to maintain my constituency.
The 400,000 CD?
It doesn't. Oh, I'm saying that just consider that we have primaries coming. Primaries coming. Do you know how much MPs will spend on their primaries? Just primary. That's an internal contest. Okay? Some people have about 200 branches. Each branch has 9 executive members, and they will have to tour all of them. Even if they just tour the 200 branches, and at every meeting they are just going to refresh them. Or even if they invited them to meetings, and you can't invite somebody to come so that I'll deliver my message to you, and then you don't give him transportation to go back to wherever he is. You can't ask him to leave his daily job and come and attend your meeting, and you don't make an effort to compensate him for the lost earnings because he has left his daily job and has come to attend your meetings. That expenditure alone wipes out whatever you are going to be paid as ex gratia, and that's just your primaries. And then we come to the general election itself, where you will have to tour the 200 plus communities over about 3-6 months period. Every day you are drilling boreholes for communities who just need water to drink, and as you know, a concerned person, you go there and they say, we just need water. We're not asking for anything. We're not asking for a Land Cruiser to also ride. We just want water to drink. And you take your salary and you can sit in Accra and spend it and not drill that borehole for them. You know, so these are expenditure. You go to the Minister for Public Works or you go to the Minister for Works, Water Resources, and he says that, you approve my budget. Did you provide money for me to drill boreholes in every village?
Right.
So as a member of you can't go back to the village and say, oh, well, you know, the Minister for Water Resources says that, you know, there was no money in the budget for drilling boreholes in every village in this country. So go and continue drinking the water from that dirty stream. You will have to do something. And so you end up resorting to your personal resources. So this is the plight of our democracy. So that's why I'm saying that for some funny reason, because I am there, I've been there for 20 years, and I understand the dynamics. I understand the feeling of the voter, but I also understand my dynamics as the person delivering on the service. But I think it's good to satisfy the populace by just taking it out, as John Dramani Mahama is proposing, and then we can all have our peace.
Thank you. Lawyer Martin Bebo.
Okay. Yeah, so, but what Honorable just said, well, Honorable, you see, the problem is that, yes, there are some of those. When you mention water, that's a peculiar one. But that apart, a lot of the money you spend it enticing them to vote for you. It's not the basic one. So let's be careful that we don't lump everything. A lot of the money you spend trying to change their minds. The constituents, the delegates may find that Mr. X is not competent. So in their estimation, they will not vote for him. And Mr. X wants to spend all the money to change their minds. You see, so yes, we as lay citizens, we appreciate that, yes, sometimes MPs have to use their money and all that to be able to provide certain basic necessities for the citizenry. But a huge chunk of the stress on the MPs, those who were the other politicians, that the citizens or the delegates would have made the decision that Mr. X is not competent. But Mr. X, in his bid to be able to persuade them, then resorts to giving freebies. We all know that when it comes to these matters, as soon as you mention the cost of elections, straight away, I'm sure you are looking at delegates and cocoa season.
That's right.
Delegates and cocoa seasons. What? Roofing sheets, cement, television sets, iPhones, etc., etc. These have nothing to do with water. You say, so I appreciate Honorable So, but as I said, I mean, viewers watching us, they also follow the politics in Ghana. And I'm sure the larger majority just see it as that these candidates spend the money to entice the voters.
And that does not directly go into improving the livelihood of the constituents.
Absolutely, absolutely. So please, they will need to do a lot more to change that. You remember the elections, so many of them, but the most current one that comes to my mind is Kwabenya, this Okwe Junior, and then Adwa Safo. You saw real money, right? Yeah, it was such a challenge. They were falling over themselves, dishing dollars, TV sets, all that, right? And there are so many other examples. So that's point one. Point two, I agree with JM that yes, you see, and for me, Mr. Okansi, the key thing is that he said including. They would do far-reaching reforms, amending the constitution to improve governance and the political situation in Ghana. That's the way. So in law, as soon as you say including, meaning you are not talking about only Article 71. Because if you look at the reports, usually 71, yes, the money is quite gargantuan, but generally when you compare it to the total emoluments and all that, they will tell you it's not up to 0.00 something. You see, there are some figures in the various reports, Bwando report, etc. Right? Yes. So, like, if you look at the last one, the Professor Ya Intiamwa Bedu report, right? So you look at them, they will tell you that total figure. I agree that they are abolished, but I'm saying that the key thing is that JM says constitutional amendments including. So let's pay attention to the other ones that follow, because this money, it's not the main problem. The ex-gratia is not the main one, yes. And what it does is that, but because it's most visible, because Mr. Kansi, if you were to become a minister, by the time you leave, then your living standards would have more than quadrupled my living standards, assuming we're classmates. So it becomes very visible. You know, as a society, when you can provide more and I can't provide, then it breeds resentment. Indeed. Yes. So when people say they don't understand, I'm like, no, then they really have a long way to go. Because people are classmates to the ministers and all this. And in natural fact, look, a lot of the time, the ministers are not the best in our society. They are not the best. When you go, you look at your classmates, often the ministers we have, the president and all those, they are often not the best. But, you know, because often they have certain attributes, bravery, and also they say they have passion for the job.
Eloquence, charisma.
Yes, but those don't necessarily make them the most honest. And you see, the Lee Kuan Yew, his books. In our politics, the number one ingredient, the number one attribute we need is what? Honesty, integrity. That's the first one. It's not about your eloquence. We don't even care. But even in the current parliament, there are some MPs who speak very bad English, but there are MPs there. We can't judge them as based on only the poor English, right? We are looking for honesty. That's the first item. Yet in our politics, we've thrown it away, and it's about the other things. Oh yeah, he can give money. It's all about moneycracy. You see? So the point we're making is that now let's come. Once JM says including, let's go to the really serious provisions, or let's say the more far-reaching provisions that we need to take care of so that it can improve our governance. The first on the list, you know, for how many months now, every day, in one form or another, it comes up, Article 71, Clause 1.
That's right.
78, appointing ministers from Parliament is the number one thing. Yeah, that thing, we need to stop it. We need to stop it. We'll amend it so that a minister will not come from Parliament. So it means that when you are elected an MP, at the time you're going to stand for MPship, you know that you will be an MP only. There's no way you get to Parliament and be appointed a minister. That's out of it. So that as you're going, you should know that your job is cut out for you as an MP only. You know, a lot of the things there, Professor Achuaye is written, Professor Okwe, so many of the political science professors, they've written that a lot of the MPs go into Parliament as a stepping stone to get ministerial appointment, because that is where the money is. The minister approves the contracts and all that, then he makes 10% and 20% and all those percentages. And look, that one is not a secret. We've all accepted it over the years. That's where it is. That's how come. So the truth be told, when you abolish ex gratia, for a lot of them, ministers, deputy ministers, you really haven't caused any dent in the money they make. The real money is made in the contracts, right? Yeah, so we want to improve the governance.
So you want that specific provision addressed?
Yes.
Not, you know, yes, John Mahama has talked about other reforms, but you want, I mean, I get the understanding that you want some specificity. So specifics, apart from Article 71, which he talks about scrapping ex gratia, you want Article 78 as well, Clause 1,
yes, and
as one of the specific clauses
it's
that
the highest candidate.
Amend.
Yes, it's the highest candidate. It says that ministers of state shall be appointed by the president with the prior approval of Parliament from among members of Parliament or persons qualified to be elected as members of Parliament, except that the majority of ministers of state shall be appointed from among members of Parliament. Majority. Look, we are just going to scrap it. We've done it before. 1979, Liman's Constitution, the 1979 Constitution. MPs were MPs only. There wasn't this hybrid. But, you know, so let them say, let's go back to it. You see, now we've grown to that extent where we expect meritocracy. As we said, the president is usually not the most intelligent in the country. Far from that. But it's other qualities that bring, you know, the person to office. So we shouldn't just pretend that when, as soon as the person assumes the presidency, then it means that all of a sudden he suddenly become wiser than everybody. No. Let's put in proper swords of Damocles around the necks of our politicians. Yeah, put in proper swords of Damocles so it's hanging on your neck. Yeah, that's proper checks and balances. So apart from 78.1, the next one, in my estimation, that we should be looking at is the election of MMDCs. So you are going through Article 55, you are going to 240, 250, etc. Simply put, we should elect our district chief executive, municipal chief executives on non-partisan lines. It's crucial because also what is it going to do? It's going to make the MMDCs accountable to the citizenry. You know, as we currently have, or in the current situation, they are appointed by the president, so they are not directly accountable. But when we vote for them, they'll be accountable to us, and most especially on non-partisan lines. Let citizens feel free to participate at the, local level. But where you have it done on partisan lines, no, some citizens don't want to get into party politics because, truth be told, look, it's largely true that often the politicians are crooked, and it's by the results. They're crooked, all of them. You see, apart from, Atta Mills, who had that high sense of honesty that we all judged that was an honest man. A certain president doesn't qualify as an honest man. JM didn't do well. We were very angry with JM. That's why we voted him out and brought in Nada, President Kufuor, and he's proved to be worse than JM. Okay, Jerry Rawlings had his own problems. Kufuor, the same thing. He too was shopping. I mean, so you look at it so far. That's what we call experience. So far, you see that all of this, apart from Atta Mills, was a judge very honest. The rest have failed. So Simple. Let's learn from this experience. We don't want to give everything to the president. And then also we'll cut down the numbers. So apart from 78, one saying that don't appoint this, ministers from parliament, also we should put in the numbers. So if we are capping it at 60, let's put it in the constitution. If you rely on the president, he can't do it. I mean, everybody. I mean, I thought President Kufuor was going to change Ghana. They say, no, that guy is ruthless. He will do it, You see how he increased the numbers to what? 125, 126. You see, so that's a big lesson to us. Let's not gamble again. Let's not gamble. So apart from the, what do you call it, the DCs, that election, let's come to the constitutional bodies, the third one. You see EC, SHRAG, and NCCE, Bank of Ghana, those, please. Let's change the mode. That one, I think we should.
The mode of what? Appointing the heads of these institutions.
Yes. I think
it shouldn't be done by the president.
Absolutely no. It will become weak.
Who should appoint the heads of these institutions?
Good. That one, I think we should remodel it to give the people the direct power to do it. Yeah. Maybe we
you mean the Ghanaian people?
Yes. Online voting. Online voting. We can do it. We will set in place certain procedures. They should be vetted publicly. On all this, big
vetted by who? Parliament?
We form a committee. Okay, the committee should be appointed by Parliament. Okay, men of integrity. Questions should not leak. Do you know there are some presidential debates where questions were said to have leaked and the rest, right? We don't want that. So, we want men of integrity who vote. Parliament should select those people, or maybe we can even throw that one out also to the online voting. Maybe a list of people. Or nominations. Okay, we want the 100 most credible, most honest people in Ghana. We vote for them. Then out of that, we further select. Then they will be in charge of the selection process.
There's another concern which I'll come back to, and I need to go to Lawyer Ikwotu on this, because you see, there are some people who are perceived or described as honest until they are appointed. They get into the system, and you wonder if they are the same people you knew.
Like before,
I didn't mention names.
I'm saying it's one example.
But you understand the point. You understand the point that yes, the Ghanaian people can actually vote for somebody whom they perceive to be honest.
Yes.
The system, when they get in there, you wonder if this is the same honest person. Okay. So there's apart from what you're proposing, maybe there should be other ways of not just getting honest people in office, but ensuring that they remain honest while in office. And that comes back to the point about strengthening institutions and the implementation of existing laws to ensure that they are accountable and don't take advantages of the weaknesses in the system. Because as humans, as we are, the basic instinct is that you take advantage of weak situations to your benefit. Okay? So, but I'll come to you on that again. But like Ikwotu, I mean, at this point about the scrapping of ex gratia, apart from you being a former Attorney General, I mean, you've headed the Constitutional Committee of the NPP before. Okay? So these are some of the issues that may have been considered by you. But your thoughts on this? It's a promise by John Mahama to scrap the ex gratia and other related.
Okay, let me say that every election has its own dynamics, and that the issues that informed us in 2016 will not necessarily be the same issues now. And so, generally, when you are in opposition, you want to look at what are the topics in town, what are people looking for, what changes would they, embrace, and then you capitalize on that one and start making promises. You can't win elections without making promises. You begin to make promises. Now, I would drastically reduce the prices of petroleum products I'll put money in your pockets.
President Kufuor said that.
Well, these were things said by John Atta Mills. I'll put money into your pockets.
No, for the fuel one, you know, it's Nana Akufo-Addo who said.
No.
The fuel increases shall be a thing of the past. He's 18
No, please. I was a member of the drafting committee. I was a member of the manifesto drafting committee.
I'm surprised.
I'm only making those references to you by telling you that it all depends upon the dynamics when you are going into election. So when you see that the problem is fuel and people are complaining, say I would drastically reduce fuel. You understand? I'm saying that he is not the one. The fact that I mentioned Atta Mills, I'm not saying that he was the only one who made promises, but I'm saying that promises are made on the basis of the issues prior to election. And this has come up, Article 71 has come out strongly, for some time now, that look, why don't we scrap it? We are having difficulty with our finances. Why do we pay so much money to people? So it's only taking advantage, saying so that I thought that there were things we said about even comparing the fuel prices in Ivory Coast, Togo, compared with what we were having just before we came in. And they said, look, it is the petroleum build-up, the duties and taxes and the rest, will reduce them. These are quite easy to say. It's only when you come in that you face the reality. When he was facing the heat, Mahama himself, he told those who were attacking them that, have you been president before? Wait till you become president, then you understand. You remember that? Yes. So again,
and he was right, isn't it?
So he cannot now claim that he's like an angel who now has all the solutions. I mean, the people like you yourself said that you got to a point that we're so fed up with him that we decided to vote him out. And it is on record that he lost with the highest margin, almost 1 million. Before then, people were saying it was over 1 million. But actually, when you do the math, it didn't get to that. But it was quite close, So, well, he's just taking advantage of the situation. That people are talking about S. Gracia, and it seemed not to like it. Almost everybody has, I think the Constitutional Review Commission spoke about it, and the rest. I like the Mahama Ayariga aspect, because I read the provisions again, and it seems to me that if they say a committee shall determine this for those there, and then approved by executive, then for those in the executive approved by, who has put time limitation that you should wait till when you are leaving office?
Yes.
Why? Why can't we do that at the beginning? First month or something, we set up the committee, they come and tell us what the salaries will be. But what obtains now is that you are put on the salary all right, but no adjustments are made, no increments, no notches, nothing. You stay there for 4 years. Then after 4 years, they say, now we have determined your salary. And we have found that, in fact, you were entitled to so much. So what you were getting was below that. So there is something,
calculate and add the arrears.
Add some arrears to it. As for the S. Gracia, it makes sense. I mean, the whole idea of...
You mean scrapping the S. Gracia makes sense?
No, I'm saying that the idea of S. Gracia is to help you not to be corrupt whilst in office.
But you see, has that actually solved the problem?
Well, I'm coming to that. That look, if you know that, look, when I finish serving, I'll be giving some golden handshake to leave. Perhaps that is to assist you not to, if you like, use the crude word, steal whilst you are in office. Because you know that as you go, as you even exit, something, they will give you something to go away with. That is the idea behind it. But the salaries, what I'm saying is that, what is the big deal determining somebody's salary and making necessary adjustments in the course of the 4 years? Why should they all be on one salary for 4 years? At the end of which you now even say that ought not to have been your salary. So now pay you, and then large sums of monies are given and all that. So we can look at it again.
But if the intention of the S. Gracia was to encourage you not to steal and be corrupt as a politician, voted to serve the people, See, the point is we are paying you every step of the way. We even give you money to fulfill the promises you made to us. And then on top of it, you steal. And then when you are going to, we give you money. I mean,
but that's the point I'm making. It is rather to assist you. That look, you can retire.
But that has not cured.
You see, the whole idea of even
behavior of
asking some people to retire on their salaries, especially judges. Why go and accept bribe? What are you putting in preparing for the what do you call it, the rainy day? You can go with your salary.
Indeed.
So do work according to your integrity, and then you can go and still have something. There's no need for you to rush to do wrong thing. It's the same idea. We'll give you some, ex gratia when you are leaving. So you don't go and say, well, since I left office, if I had known, I would have been dipping my hands inside something. But now I work diligently, I've come back, nothing. So, well, if, it is an idealism, if you like. Because we tell the people, this is the way we want you to work, and then you can go still enjoy your, retirement in peace. But if they are indulging in the corrupt practices and at the same time going away with those huge, ex gratia, then what is the point?
See, that's where the point. So you agree that the ex gratia should be scrapped?
Yeah, of course. If he says he wants to scrap it, why not? But I'm saying that he's taking advantage of his situation. Because he's enjoying it like somebody put it. He's already enjoying. He still continues to enjoy it.
Like somebody should return his. It's a good call. Mr. Kansi. Yes, those saying he should return his.
Your mama should return his ex gratia.
Yes, it's a good example. He should. Look, let's speak plainly. We are not kids. I mean, I'm not in a court of law. Mr. Mama made money whilst as president. Okay, so he should look within himself and say, look, you know what? I will return this. Return it. Because the national elections they are going to do it, there are hundreds of millions of dollars. Where does it come from? They made money. So the ex gratia is small. So just say, you know what, people, I've grown older. I think I've become wiser. Here, I'm returning the money. That ex gratia. You should return it. It's a good thing. Because you see, after, let me speak. You see, if we don't speak plainly and we just want to say law, where is the evidence? We'll never make progress. Because corruption is not done openly. Look, the thing is this. If it were just the little 10% that Kwame Nkrumah's time used to happen in Ghana, we wouldn't have had this problem. But the corruption that was in Kwame Nkrumah's time has more than quadrupled. That is where the problem is. So that, when I say 10%, Kwame Nkrumah's time, they used to collect 10% from the contractors, and they put it in a fund. Is that the Omanfo for Trust or something? And they were using it to build schools. Senior, you were here, you know that. So in our history, Kwame Nkrumah's time, they used to take 10% from the contractors, and they used it for projects. So I don't know whether that's what has festered or whatever, but fast forward, now the 10% is collected, and people put it in their pockets and enjoy.
It doesn't go to the state.
Exactly. So the point I'm making is that, look, Mr. Mama, Dan Kweku Yeboah of Peace FM. I think he's the lead campaigner for Mr. Mama to return his ex gratia. When I looked at it, I said, yes, it makes sense because, look, Mr. Mama should do introspection and see that, yes, let me return it as a sign of what? This good faith. That, yes, once I've returned this money, that's it. I'm committed. And then number two, the amendments. He should put them in writing. Also, he said, they will do far-reaching constitutional amendments, including Article 71. Excellent, we agree, he's done well. But let's put all in writing, signed by him. So a letter addressed to the people of Ghana, that these are the constitutional amendments he will be, championing. And signed by him. We don't want it in a party manifesto. Look, let me show you party manifesto. The NPP promised that when they come, the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, they will amend it, blah, blah. Under the current draft, they want to make it in such a way that you declare your assets, okay? Yes, before you enter the office, right? Even before you are sworn in, etc. And if you don't, you won't even get to enter the office. And if you were to hide it, you lose the office straight away. Right. Currently under the Constitution, it's for Shraj to look at it and say, oh, they will punish you, this, that. Shraj allows. Jean Mensa didn't declare. Shraj just gave a slap on the wrist. The commission didn't say she should lose her office. And at the current draft, no, if you won't even get that far, if you were to sneak and enter, take office before declaring, you lose the office, etc. Other beneficial provisions. My point is that President Akufo-Addo has vetoed it. I'm using vetoed for lack of this is a better word. He sat on it that no, they will not pass that law. Check. Occupy Ghana wrote. It's been in cabinet. It's been lying there gathering dust. And then Occupy Ghana wrote. The response is that no, they are not going to work on it. So the point I'm making is that because it's a party manifesto, it's the whole party. So when you talk about it, yes, you can give President Kufuor part of the blame, but the rest will go to the party. That's why I'm saying Mr. Mahama should write all the constitutional provisions and sign, address to write. Then we'll get copies.
That he intends to.
Yes.
So that that will be a means of accountability.
Yes. Yes. So that every time we show him his signature, JM, did you sign this? Did you sign? Did you sign? If you sign, is that your signature? Can we get it? You see that it can move it forward rather than being a party manifesto. Okay? Yeah, that's the point on it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. There was a question that came through from Dr. Kwame Asante. Says, what will the returning of the ex gratia by JM signify? What signal would it send? This is to you, Lawyer Martin.
Okay. Yes, so simply, the people are saying that they just want, remember, they want evidence that he's really committed. That's it. So that's it. Oh, so Professor Asante, good morning. Yeah, but I like him from afar. I don't know him that person, but I like his inputs and all that when he appears here and other media. Yes. So what they are saying is that, that's why I said it's common sense, but it's very deep. They're saying that, okay, just return yours. As soon as you return it, it means that you've committed yourself. There's no way when you come into office again, you do a U-turn and go and collect.
That's right.
Because I would say, but when you're in opposition, you could return this money. How come now you see it? So it will be very incongruous. So the symbolism is very important. It's just like, let me show you, when Obama became US president. But if you were politically astute, you know that he couldn't have suddenly changed everything and given all the resources to change the plight of blacks. We all knew that he couldn't have done that. But the symbolism that a black man was now in the White House, it gave us pride, confidence that we too, we can aspire. That's it. So symbolism is very, very, very important. Don't underestimate it.
And that moves beyond words. And you say that also adds another layer of accountability for the politician, also beyond what they say to get the vote. I appreciate your thoughts on this. There's something that we've been following quite closely, and this is the Traditional Council. I don't know if Lawyer Martin Kpebu, you've seen this. It came through yesterday about their opposition to the building of the Kaya hostel. There's a land that's being cleared, ostensibly for that purpose.
Where?
This is somewhere in the Central Business District area, Agbogbloshie. So they are opposed to it. They are rather asking that the land be used for other purposes instead of that objective of government to build the hostel for Kaya, which it's a promise by the MPP. It's in their manifesto. Remember, something that the manifesto checkers have been calling on government on what to do. So I'm saying this because, apart from all the other things you have done, you are a leader of the Gadangbe community, one of the leaders of the Gadangbe, correct?
Well, I'm the current president
you are the
of the
current
Gadangbe Council.
Of the Gadangbe Council.
Actually, we issued a statement which I signed. What you are seeing is a supporting statement coming from the Traditional Council. So I will best rather give you the background to all that. The Korle Lagoon and then the Sodom and Gomorrah, those are quite common issues that everybody knows about. How they were removed and sent to Ajen Kotoku, especially the onion sellers. The onion sellers. And the rest. But the point is that the land was originally acquired to be used for Korle Lagoon recreational development area. So a scheme was made for that. It didn't come on for a very long time. And then during the time of, I think, Yiti Mensah as mayor, he decided that Mokola was becoming too, not fit for purpose anymore. So he needed land to, as it were, send some of the traders there. So he went for Agbogbolushi and he started Agbogbolushi Market. You see, when you are going from Abosokan, that's the mosque, towards Accra, the left side was where the Agbogbolushi Market was actually, you know. Then following the, I think, Nanumba Kokomba war, people had to flee from the fight and they wanted a place. And the Gamanche and others were seen who gave them land, you know, to just settle around there. What then became known as Sodom and Gomorrah. And with time, their kinsfolks kept coming, you know, and we had a huge population there. So some were selling yam because they are farmers generally. Right. So some were selling yam, some were into onion, you know. And then this area we are talking about presently was allocated to Nzima, you know, edible oil sellers who bring their edible oil in trucks, park there, and then distribute and do the business around that area, you know. So both sides were then taken up, but the whole enclave was what was taken for the Korle Lagoon recreational development area. Then we were having problem with floods, you know, every year when there is rain around Circle, people will die, all sorts of things will happen. So we started talking of what we call the Korle Lagoon Restoration Project, the CLEF thing, with Kuwait Fund. But because the people were still there and would not move, they kept putting things into the Korle Lagoon. Some were actually reclaiming part of the land using sawdust. So the thing would not flow. So although they got a Kuwaiti fund from my checks and were able to lay some pipes to like allow the water to flow freely into the sea, it didn't work because those around it were just not making it possible. So that thing went down the drain. Several governments have attempted. I think Mohammed's own brother was doing some dredging. Then when we came, the MPP also brought in,
this is the
Dredge Masters.
Dredge Masters.
Correct, that's what I'm trying to recall it. Dredge Masters also started from Odo, because the thing is not only around the Korle Lagoon, but it spreads all the way to the Odo. Because some of the floods come down from the mountains, and that's where they start from, and then gradually to Circle, and then move on, you know. So attempts have been made to work on this thing, and still not working. Meanwhile, we are talking of a larger issue of rural-urban migration. People are moving at a very fast rate. A lot of those of us who grew up in Accra did not see these huge numbers in Accra.
Indeed.
I could quite remember buses were efficient everywhere. You know your bus, which you take and where you drop you. You know, the city was clean. We had these sanitary workers who were cleaning the gutters and all that. I remember remembering this thing, don't litter the city. It's a box somewhere, don't litter the city. I mean, today, everywhere is choked. Everywhere is practically choked. Now, what should we do to curb this, rural-urban migration? Are they not part of us? Doesn't our constitution enjoin us to spread development everywhere? Should it also only be in the capital cities, especially in Accra, such that the people living outside believe that we can't make it unless we rush to Accra? And it will have an effect on the people who live here.
At a time when you are pursuing decentralization to as it were, spread resources.
Exactly. When we're opening this or creating new regions, these things were said that we are bringing governance at your doorstep, and we'll give you some, facilities, new police station, new immigration office, beds and deaths. Things will come to the region known as regional hubs and all that. And yet we are having this thing happening to the extent that the people here are now getting lost in the system. And you have a constitutional provision about representation of the people, which gives only two conditions. Either you hail from or you reside. And so if the people cannot live where they are and they have all come and they now reside, it makes it possible for them to contest to the extent that they get to the parliament, and it is not the indigenous people of Greater Accra who are representing them. Do they really understand their cultures, their Wulomoi and their Homowois and their Wawoyes and the things they do? Do they understand what they do? But these are the people, this is what the Constitution says. So that when you become an advocacy group, like my friend was advocating for the debt exchange to make sure that they leave out
individual bondholders. So, and it's still on. Leave out individual bondholders by paying existing bonds.
Yes, in the same way, some of us have now become advocates. Now, look, what is happening is becoming, problematic, because these people, I'm told that some come really during the dry season when there's no water. True. So they come to ply their trade, do a few things here, and then when the rain starts, they go back. Now, if you go and you are now building hostels for them, are you not encouraging them to stay? No need for them to go anywhere anymore because they have places to stay. And when you are moving to a place, one of the first things you ask yourself, where am I going to sleep? Do you have a friend there? Do you have a relative, especially those who go abroad? Or you come, I'll find a place for you to stay for some time later on. So once you give them permanent place, you are encouraging more people to come. So the question is, do they have skills at all? What is it that they are coming to do? You take Edpan, you go and stand at Mokola, and then somebody has bought a few products. They say, oh, Kaya you Kabawa me. And you call him and he goes to take it and helps you. Nothing. Why can't we look at, technical and vocational training up there, giving them some skills, letting them feel that they belong and they can work, they can do everything they want there. This is the point. And then the land taking, which is not being used for the purpose for which it is taken, why don't you give it back to the people? Because you go to Bukum and see how the people are living there. Have you passed there before? Jamestown. Very, very crowded. Choco and all that. They also need space. So what about them? Is this equitable? If they have no place to live and others have come, they've chosen to sleep by the roadside because they cannot afford the rent. It's not somebody carrying a head load. How much does it make a day for him to go and hire a place?
But you see, it raises a fundamental question about the considerations that politicians take into place when you are formulating policies and making promises. Because you see, this decision to build hostels for headquarters is a political promise.
Yes.
So now, if all these issues you're raising, and it's interesting, this promise was made by a party you belong to. I mean, you've been a member of the manifesto committee of the party and so on. I mean, the NPP. So why then do you not take into consideration all these dynamics when making political promises and you get headquarters to buy into it, they vote for you? When it's time for you to fulfill that promise, then you now consider the reasonable argument and the other factors that you're talking about now.
Yes, I've told you, like, our friend Mahama is making promises. You look at the dynamics of the time and you make a promise.
And so you actually tell them what they want to hear. You deceive them to vote for you. Then when it's time for you to fulfill the promise, you say, oh, these are the necessary things. We can't do it.
I'm sure you have heard the story where it is said that the politician tells them he will build a bridge for them when they find they have no river. And they shout, yes!
It's serious.
But it will take some time. No, I agree with you. What I'm saying is that you are developing a democracy. People are beginning to realize that MPs do not build roads, don't build hospitals, so that when they are making promises, they should now be very careful Because you go and say, what money do you have? Even the District Assembly Common Fund, MPs Common Fund, that is what they use for projects. They don't have their own money. So the people are now becoming wiser. So they now should know what to tell them, what not to tell them. So with time, I mean, the way we queue and fight, you saw the Nigerian elections, if we have time to talk about it, the kind of footages that we saw. You could see yourself, is this what elections are all about? I lived there, I saw the Canadian election, I saw the US election, I was once in UK when they were, you don't even know that any elections are taking place. Those who want to vote online have voted online. Those who want to walk in quickly, go and queue, do their thing and go away. Here it's life and death. People are fighting, and so it will take a little while for us to get to know some of these things and then to know how to make use of those promises. But the media is doing well, if you know, or you recall that when these promises are made, media people come and sit in the studio and tear them apart, say this thing is not workable, this thing cannot, but are the electorate on the same page? They may not understand the dynamics. Right. And as far as they are concerned, this is a promise that has been made, which could be, So it is true that some of this have been made, but I'm sure that with the dimensions now being raised, whoever it is, So, in fact, to conclude, what the Ghana Council, the statement Ghana Council issued, is what the Ghana Traditional Council is now supporting by also saying that they will not allow the thing to happen. It is not fair to their people who also need space. I see. So now you're saying what? Instead of that, they should rather build vocational. Give them skills training. Skills training. That's what you're proposing as an alternative to the hostel. There is even evidence that this thing came up around Kufuor's time, and sewing machines and things were sent. Bridgewater, the former U.S. ambassador. Exactly. There's nothing new. They started working on it. So why have we, turned 360 and now talking about permanently settling them and all the issues that may arise therefrom? So we can go back and look at the other issues. But I've told you, as for promises, if you're a politician, you don't make a promise, you won't win any election. But that's concerning. I mean, if the democracy is only built on telling the people what they want to hear, failed promises, you come in and then now you tell us the realities, reason why you can't do what you promised. Yes, that's what we've been saying. That's why I say some of these things we have to speak plainly. If you try to say, you want to do rule of law or due process, you can't speak plain. But I'm happy Senior has told you. That's a plain truth. And that's exactly what we are experiencing under President Kufuor. Is that not so? When we read over the 18 notable quotes, is that not, you don't see that he's made a U-turn. You see, today he's become very rich. The man that everybody thought would not take even 1 peso from the public purse, won't do anything. Today, you see, it's become, they are very rich in Ghana now, right? Through the data bank money they make from the bonds, right? So it's a big lesson. Very, very big lesson that politicians will always tell us lies. And look, Alfred, let's go further. It tells you that as soon as somebody puts himself out as a politician, that he wants you to vote for him to go into public office, that very, commitment alone, that very step that he takes should be a warning to us that this particular one may not be the most honest we have in our society. He may not be the most intelligent. If you put yourself up for political office. Yes. Lots of them. Often you look within your classmates and the rest, you would see that lots of them. So if you check, if you parade them, very few were the best in their class. Very, very few. Not sure you get even 5%. You remember what Nana Kobna Nketia, the professor at UCC, told you, said, and there's that funny thing that in Africa, the first class students sit and allow the third class students to come and rule over them. That's it. Yeah, the first class students will go into business, they'll go into other things and say, no. We don't want anything to do with politics. We are very honest men. You are very honest men. You leave the public space, the third class bad boys and girls will come and take over and they will ruin you, like they are currently ruining us. You see, it's just like, is it Plato or Aristotle who said, one of them, that wise men who refuse to participate in governance are ruled by what? Fools. Indeed. You say, so that we need to wake up. For me, I've now had my political awakening.
I've had my political awakening when Atta Mills, when Atta Mills became president, we were so excited. Why do you think Obama came here? Obama didn't go to even Nigeria. No, came to Ghana because of Atta Mills. Oh yes, this is a clean man, blah, blah, blah. We're excited. I don't know why God took that assistance those ways. And then Atta Mills died. Then JM took us and all this things. It was terrible, terrible. Then we thought Akufo-Addo could do it. And Akufo-Addo, he even made it worse. You see, now he's thrown us into a very deep crater. And so, look, listen, this time we will not lose guard. No. We will not lose guard. Not at all. That's like I don't want to even hear about Umia or Alan. No. So, coming back to the proposal, this particular one, Mr. Kanse, I must say that maybe I need more information to be able to learn and make an informed decision. Otherwise, you know what moves me? The fact that these are sisters, they are mostly, the Kaya are mostly girls, right? The fact that these are sisters sleep in the open, for me, it's been the highest. So when I saw the same hostel, I was happy. Because you sleep in a room.
Indeed.
Sometimes even with AC and all that. Then your fellow, your brother, your sister sleeps in the open. So it's difficult. I appreciate all the arguments Senior is made. But still, for the fact that they sleep in the open, and it didn't start today, it's been decades. And also, let's mention this. The critical fact also is the way the Central Business District has been designed.
Indeed.
I'm just imagining, if I buy 10 tubers of yam, you say I should carry it myself. So the point I'm making crudely, because we don't have time, is that we always need their services there.
Indeed.
Unless you are going to redesign the Central Business District. Senior, I'll tell you, when he was in Canada, and you go to Walmart, all the other shops, you come out, there's a big parking lot. So when you enter the shop, there's a cart, right?
Yes.
Then you go around, you put in the cart,
and
you come out, you stroll it to your car, then you offload into your car. So where? You see in Accra here, a lot of the time, we park the cars in the law school. Then you walk down into
Central Business District.
So you always need Kayaye. Until you redesign the Central Business District, you always need Kayaye. So I think we should look at it from that angle too. If you don't redesign the Central Business District, you will always need Kayaye. So the angle that they go back, they go back those times of the years to go and farm and do other activities there. Then they come back seasonal. It's not only in Ghana, even in the US. You see the people who come to harvest, the Mexicans and all that, the farms, Florida, they are seasonal workers. They go to their homes, then they come certain times of the year. There are other countries. So I think we should look at it again.
You see, nobody is saying that you cannot do. After all, we build estate houses. Is it not for the population?
Right.
We are talking about specific land, which has been taken for a specific purpose, which has been abandoned. And while others within the system are also looking for space, they are now being taken out or shunted aside, and others are being brought in. That is the area that we should look at.
Okay, great point. And just a minute on the Nigeria elections, because it's over. We know the president-elect, the various candidates, the losing candidates. Some of them have indicated they're going to challenge it in the court of law.
They are making good progress.
So your take on just a minute?
Peter Obi, 1 minute. I adopt my heart out to him, right? Yes, I think maybe the PDP, they should have joined in. When I look at it, I was like, geez. So when the young people move to support Obi, didn't PDP see that they could have, put aside Atiku Abubakar and join Obi? So they brought it upon themselves. When politicians are too greedy, that's what you get. Because it was time to have a younger person. Why do you have these octogenarians and all that? No. So for me, if you ask me, I think the PDP people, they brought this upon themselves. They should have supported Obi. If they didn't, and now that Obi, they've got a court order, right, to be able to scrutinize the pink sheets and everything. That's a good step. They should go forward.
Well, it's always the good thing to do, instead of taking onto the streets and encouraging, armed conflicts. It's better to go to court if you think you are not happy with the results, or you think that they have been manipulated. But it's a very common cry when people lose elections, that is where they begin to say that, well, the thing has been manipulated. Nobody wins and cries. He wins and that's it. He says, well, the people have decided for me, I'm now the president, So there are a few issues here and there. If they go to court, and I don't know how many of these things have been reversed. You know,
and that's the issue, because already you have some lawyers saying, "Oh, are the infractions enough to nullify the outcome of the So they should some have been able to move on. I mean, I don't know.
Let me mention this. It's important. Obi has to continue. Let him exhaust it. You see, it's a conversation.
That's right.
Sometimes no ways about totally that he should win and become president, but at least it will help to bring about reforms, and also it also keeps him in the public space, because it means that next 4 years, now that Nigerians have seen that yes, a third force can do it, he needs to stay in that public space. I'm sure next 4 years is the man to win. See, so it's good. Let him continue the conversation.
The other important thing that we are also saying is this breaking the 8th thing. You know, people talk about breaking the 8th and they think it's impossible. Now we have seen it happen, because when I heard the results, the first thing I said, you mean the ruling party's candidate has won again?
It's because the opposition split the votes.
Okay, but with all the problems that we saw, even in the lead to the election, people burning banks, you know, changing money. How come?
If you add OB 6.1 million to Atiku's 6 point something, they are way past the winning president. They just split
I can appreciate that. But what I'm saying is that it's gone on, you know, which
nobody's about to split.
And of course, if you look at the American situation too, they said they thought it was going to be a red wave because of the difficulties. At the end of the day, it didn't happen. And even they maintained the Senate. So this is something that would, you know, let us begin to do. But let me
we will not make that
let me end on this point, just to remind those who actually have gone to queue and they have been issued with cards, that what the NIE is saying is that the cards are available at the district and the regional offices. Over 640,000 are ready. They should be encouraged to go and take the cards and stop the noise. Thank you very much.
Ni Ayikwe to former Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Republic of Ghana, immediate past High Commissioner of Ghana to Canada, and then also former member of the Constitutional Committee and then also the Manifesto Committee of the NPP. And Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He's leader of one of 3 individual bondholder groups, the convener for the Reloaded demonstration. Also, lawyer and member of parliament for the Boko Central constituency, Mahama Ayariga, was with us earlier. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on Key Point. And to you, our viewers, we appreciate your time. And to Komla Klute, who is back in Ghana, covering the elections for us in Nigeria. On behalf of the rest of the team on Key Point, thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. I'm Alfred Kamsi.
This program is rated U. It contains no scene, action, or dialogue that could be construed as disturbing, harmful, or offensive. It is suitable for all ages.